cool evening as the New England Patriots get set to take on the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys like to think they're America's team. Clearly, they are Mexico's team. This is a partisan crowd tonight. I'm Al Michaels, along with Dan Deerdorf and Boomer Esiason. Welcome to what we think is a very intriguing preseason matchup. The New England Patriots went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago and then won the AFC East last year. However, they have lost Curtis Martin, who was a restricted free agent and opted to sign with the New York Jets, so they'll need a revamped running game. However, they do have Pete Carroll back in his second year at the helm, and guiding the team is the quarterback Drew Bledsoe, now in his sixth season in the National Football League. Meanwhile, the Dallas Cowboys, always the most intriguing team in the National Football League, have won 3 Super Bowls in the 90s, but last year fell off the edge, finished 6-10, and that was the end of the Barry Switzer regime after 4 years. Then stunningly in February, Jerry Jones announced as his head coach a man he had not met until 4 days prior, Chan Gailey, the offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who inherits a lot of the stars, of course, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, and others. But one thing, Dan Deerdorf, that Chan Gailey found out right off the bat is the spotlight really shines very brightly on anything surrounding the Dallas Cowboys.
And Al, I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Thomas Chandler Gailey was brought to this franchise to bring to maybe the most underperforming and underachieving team in the National Football League some discipline and some focus. Well, that focus was challenged early in training camp in an incident about 3 weeks ago that we'll document as this telecast goes along between Michael Irvin and Everett McIver. He also is bringing in an entirely new offensive scheme. Chan is not only the head coach, he is the offensive coordinator. They have new schemes, new terminology, new numbering systems, and the players are working hard to absorb it all here in the preseason. Defensively, it's still the same system with defensive coordinator Dave Campo, but big problems. They have 2 defensive ends that has never started an NFL football game. Boomer Esiason, when you take a look at Pete Carroll and the New England Patriots, maybe they are the most, they might be the most talented team in the AFC, but like everybody else, he's got his problems.
Well, they have their problems, certainly. Last year at this time, it was Bill Parcells who cast a shadow upon the New England Patriots. Now it's Curtis Martin who bolts the Patriots for the Jets. Those Jets, boy, that they hate the Patriots. But tonight, we're going to see some guys that are going to have a chance to fill the shoes that Curtis Martin has left behind. And first off will be Cedric Shaw, and then it'll be Derek Cullors. They drafted a rookie by the name of Robert Edwards in the first round, but he's hurt. He'll see extensive action in the next 2 preseason games to really get a good hard look at him. Not only do they have to replace Curtis Martin, but they also have to replace Keith Byers, Sam Gash, and on top of that, Dave Meggett. So they have to replace an entirely new backfield. And they're going to try to do that all with the new offensive coordinator, oddly enough, who came from the Dallas Cowboys, Ernie Zampese. So along with the new backfield, Drew Bledsoe has to now learn a new system, much like Troy does, over for the Cowboys.
All right, Boomer, we'll tee it up in just a moment, but as many of you are undoubtedly aware, President Clinton plans to address the nation live at 10 o'clock Eastern time tonight in about 2 hours about his testimony before the grand jury today. When that happens, ABC News will bring you complete coverage of his remarks on this ABC station. And our live telecast of this game will then shift to ESPN2 throughout the duration of the president's speech. We will then resume coverage of tonight's preseason game on our ABC stations after ABC News coverage of the presidential address has concluded. That's coming up in about 2 hours. In the meantime, when we come back to Mexico, we'll kick it off and have a word from Chan Gailey, the new Cowboy coach.
Leslie Visser, welcome back to Mexico City. I'm joined by Chan Gailey, a man who is so serious about the job that he scripted every minute of every practice down to the water break. And Chan, you've changed an offense that won 3 Super Bowls. What's been the biggest adjustment for Emmitt Smith and Troy Aikman?
Well, most of the adjustments have come in terminology. They're doing some of the same things, but we've had a lot of personnel groupings that are different, a lot of formation differences, and then the shotgun.
And maybe a screenplay.
Yeah, maybe.
Might revive that. Thanks a lot. Good luck to you, Chan. Back to you, Al.
All right, thank you, Leslie. And a light rain on this overcast night. The Dallas Cowboys will kick off, and that's Toby Goen, who did a fine job as their punter and kickoff specialist last season in his second year out of North Texas. And back deep to receive for the Patriots will be Derek Cullors, and Chris Canty will flank him. And here we go from Mexico City with thousands of flashbulbs popping on the opening kickoff. Fielded by Chris Canty at the 2, and he goes down at the 13. It's a very erratic playing surface here in Mexico City. It's in better shape than it was a few years ago, but there are a lot of divots out on that field, and one comes into play right at the outset. Drew Bledsoe is the quarterback. Guy that went to the Super Bowl 2 seasons ago. Number 1 pick in the entire league when he came out of Washington State, now in his 6th season. Offensively, Shaw starts in the backfield with the newly acquired Carter. Jefferson and Glenn are the wideouts. Ben Coates, the all-pro tight end. Armstrong, Lane, Wolabot, Rucci, and Moss, the interior 5. That offensive line returns intact. Shaw for a gain of 3 to the 16. Now the Dallas defense. They have Herman Smith, Antonio Anderson, Chad Hennings, and Greg Ellis, their number 1 choice up front. Leon Lett-Hurt hopes to be back by the opener. Godfrey, Strickland, and Coakley are the linebackers. And with Deion Sanders injured, it's Smith with Mathis Spelling Sanders at the corner. Stoutmeyer trying to win a free safety job. And the Pro Bowler Darren Woodson at strong safety. On second down and 7, this is Cedric Shaw. He takes it up to the 20-yard line, about 3 yards shy of the first down. It'll be 3rd and 3 as Mathis comes up for the tackle.
You know, when we talked to Pete Carroll last night, Al, he was talking about how he really wants to try to establish the run, get some rhythm going for this offense. Last week against the Vikings, they looked horrible and really never got the rhythm going.
In fact, in their first game at San Francisco, they lost there, didn't look very good. And last week, blitzed by the Vikings 28-0. Each of these teams, in fact, comes in with a record of 0-2 in preseason. As if that matters, it's just for the record. 3rd down and 4 as Bledsoe throws, and it's caught for a first down by Lovett Purnell. Playing on the opposite side of Coates, he signals first down, and thus it is.
This is an adjustment period for Drew Bledsoe and the entire offense with the new offensive coordinator, Ernie Zampese. He likes to make things happen on timing routes. You can see Drew just planting his back foot and throwing the ball very quickly.
And Purnell came up wearing some of the turf in his helmet, and we'll see that all night long as Shaw can't find room to the outside, and coming up to make the tackle, Darren Woodson, the first to hit him, and then Mathis finishes him off.
And Darren Woodson doesn't exactly pop up. The field will be a problem tonight. We were here in 1994, I believe it was, Al, and the Cowboys played the Oilers in a quagmire, and the field is soft. It sits very low. They have tried very hard to keep it as dry as possible, but what have we had so far? 3 plays, and you can already see it coming up in big, big chunks.
In fact, the field was in such bad condition in '94. Emmitt Smith was in the game for 1 play, and he went out. Larry Spitzer took him right out. On second down and 10, Bledsoe throws, and it's caught by Sean Jefferson, who takes it to the 37-yard line, and that'll move the chains. Another New England first down.
Now, in talking to Drew Bledsoe last night, he was telling me that their last drive against the Vikings, he felt like he had a little something going, and then it was interrupted by the half. But now you can see they're going to come out, they're going to throw the ball. They have a very talented receiving core led by Terry Glenn and Jefferson and also Ben Coates. And I think Ernie Zampese realizes that he has some firepower back there. So to be able to utilize Drew's skills, especially on first down, will really be a big advantage for the Cowboys.
And there is Ernie Zampese. As if you couldn't recognize him with the ever-present cigarette. First down from the 37-yard line. Bledsoe gets a lot of time going deep, but too deep for Sean Jefferson.
One of the hardest balls to throw for a quarterback is to throw the post pattern down the middle of the field. You want to be able to lead the player across the field, and one of the things that as quarterbacks do, we tend to throw it down the middle of the field too far and we overthrow. We get a little excited because we see a guy that wide open down the field that we kind of put a little bit too much oomph into it.
Did you find that you would overthrow players more in the early part of a ball game?
Absolutely. You know, your juices are flowing, you're jacked up, you're ready to go, and you know, these guys know that they're on Monday night, so it's exciting for them.
On second down and 10, toss to Shaw to the 39. Robert Edwards, as Boomer mentioned at the top, was their number 1 pick and could conceivably open the season as their top running back. But Shaw, for the moment, with Edwards slightly injured, gets the start. We'll also see a rookie running back by the name of Shaw as well, Harold Shaw, no relation. Derek Cullors, for the moment, is the 3rd down back. But it's a totally revamped backfield.
And groin injury is what Robert Edwards has. And if you have a strained groin, you cannot play on a worse surface than a field that might come up like this. So a lot of players who are just barely nicked are sitting this one out.
So 3rd and 8, and Derek Cullors is in the game as a 3rd down back. And the pass is incomplete. In and out of the hands of Vincent Brisby, reaching up for it at the 50-yard line. So after a couple of first downs, the Patriots will have to punt, and Dallas will get the ball about 4 minutes into the game.
See, Brisby this time actually stumbles as he comes out of his break. Does a good job of coming and getting a little separation here. And as he stumbles, he's not able to make the adjustment to make the catch that was thrown a little bit behind him. But definitely a catchable ball as far as
86, 85.
The adjustment he would have had to make would be to grow about 3 feet.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Tom Tupa to punt. Tupa, who also serves as the emergency quarterback, sends it deep to the 13-yard line. Kevin Mathis juggles it there, picks it back up, and returns it to the 12. So the Cowboys keep possession, but deep in their own territory. A little more than 4 minutes into the game in Mexico City with no score. Back in Mexico City, the Patriot offense going over their first series, and now the Dallas offense, led, of course, by Troy Aikman. Like Bledsoe, a #1 overall pick. That was back in 1989 out of UCLA. Emmitt Smith will not start tonight. We're going to see a 7th-round draft choice, Tarek Smith, along with Darrell Johnston making a comeback. Davis and Urban outside. LaFleur is the tight end. And up front for the Cowboys, Larry Allen moves from right guard to left tackle. A slimmed-down Nate Newton at left guard. Shiver in the middle. Everett McIver, much in the news, and we'll discuss that shortly, at right guard. And Eric Williams at right tackle. From the 12-yard line on first down, they send Billy Davis in motion. And tosses to Smith. And Smith, who played 1 season for Steve Mariucci when Mariucci was the coach of California before going to the 49ers, is tackled by Canty. Up front for the Pats, Collins, Wheeler, Eden, and McGinnis. Chris Slade is not here. He figures to be back next week, so Crawford takes his spot. Ted Johnson in the middle, and Todd Collins are the linebackers. Law and Canty are the corners. Malloy and Clay are the safeties. Canty trying to win the starting job. And there is Emmitt Smith in uniform, but it's highly doubtful we'll see him in action tonight. And Chris Warren is also dinged. We won't see him either on 2nd down and 8. Darrell Johnston coming back from neck surgery that many thought was career-ending. And, of course, in cowboy country, and we are in cowboy country, the call of moose goes out even in Mexico.
He had to peel Troy Aikman up off the ground after that throw. He did a good job of standing in there, but talking to Chan Gailey yesterday, he was just so excited for Moose's return because of the way he's come back from his neck injury, Dan, and the fact that he's not even playing like there was a bother.
Here's that hit, Boomer, where Troy Aikman takes a shot. And again, every coach cringes at this. That's Deaton, the defensive lineman that normally plays in, getting into the tackle position, but he got good penetration that time and got it. Troy, and he's on him again.
Again, Smith takes it. Tarek Smith. And he picks up about 5 before he's tackled up at the 29-yard line.
Really, the great play there was the screen play into the blitz, and the Cowboy offensive line did a good job of holding them out. There's going to be one player free when there is a blitz like this, and Troy does a good job of avoiding it and falling back and throwing the ball to Smith as a screen play. And you can see that right there. That's what quarterbacks are told to do. Look off and throw it to your back in a screen situation, just like this.
Ty Law makes the tackle with a little emphasis up at the 29. 2nd down and 5. 6 minutes into the game with no score. Smith again is wrapped up from behind. That's Mark Wheeler, the 7th year out of Texas A&M, stopping him.
Al, you mentioned both of these teams were 0-2. And while that's not critical in the preseason, whether you play well or not is critical. And neither one of these teams has played well, especially the Cowboys' offense. And Chan Gailey is seeing something he hasn't seen a whole lot of. That's first downs. His first team last week against the Raiders, 4 possessions, no first downs, a total of -6 yards. So he's seeing more production now than he's seen in a couple weeks.
3rd down and 3, and this is something new for the Cowboys from years past. It's Aikman in the shotgun with 4 wides, 3 set to the top of the screen to the right. And Aikman seeking the first down, comes to the near side, and incomplete, intended for Stepfret Williams. And down goes Troy again with some assistance getting up from Chad Eaton. That's the second time Eaton has decked Aikman. So a good series for Chad.
Pete Carroll said that Chad Eaton has a motor that's revving all the time. And you can see the thing that you want to do when you're playing is you want to make sure that quarterback knows that he's going to get pressure. Even though it's not a sack, that sends a message every time he gets hit. So now when he gets back to you, it'll be a little bit loss of concentration maybe next time.
Toby going to punt, and Troy Brown back to receive for the Patriots. A relatively short kick with a flag down that bounces at the 37 and is down there by the Cowboys. Their special teams coach, Joe Avezzano. Despite the departure of Switzer, he returns to the staff. And we have our first penalty of the game. The referee tonight is Tom White, ineligible man downfield. And that's not an uncommon call, especially in preseason play, as you work different guys in and out of your special teams units.
And the one thing that coaches and teams...
kicking team downfield. That penalty is declined. It'll be a first down for New England. Timeout.
So the penalty declined. Pats get it back, and we'll be back in Mexico after this. Who's that? Robert Edwards, the #1 draft choice of the New England Patriots, who played in the San Francisco preseason opener, but then missed last week's game. 18th player selected. Had a lot of injury problems at Georgia, but when he was in, he was obviously good enough to be drafted #1. And if he's healthy and looks good the next 2 weeks, he could be the opening day running back for the Patriots. From the 36-yard line on first down, Cedric Shaw, who has other ideas, he'd like to be the opening day back, picks up 9.
And, that's what preseason's all about, taking advantage of your opportunities. And Cedric Shaw has a huge opportunity tonight to really make a statement. And if he keeps running like this and the holes keep opening for him, certainly Pete Carroll will look at him in a different light.
Boomer, this is an offensive line that's really much better known for their pass protection. They're a great quality pass protecting line, and they're working hard this camp at run blocking, and that is a beautiful job between right guard Todd Rucci and right tackle Zephyrus Moss.
Now stumbling as he takes the handoff and stopped at the line of scrimmage was Shaw. Chad Hennings on top of him. It'll be 3rd down and 1.
Even though that the Patriots had Curtis Martin last year, they were only around 20th in the league in rushing anyway. So it wasn't that they were a dominant rushing team, but they could always count on Curtis getting about 4 yards to carry. And it's something to have a guy back there that that is going to make the play for you. And that's something that they're searching for right now in New England. And like I was saying before, they're not actually game planning. They're just giving the guys the ball, let them go, and let's see what they can do.
Almost a face mask call there, and Shaw has to come out of the game. Derek Cullors comes in. Shaw took himself out. It's 3rd down and 1 from the 45. Off the fake draw to buy a lot of time. Bledsoe going for 6. Deep down the middle and again overthrown. This time intended for Terry Glenn.
And Terry Glenn was wide open ever since the first time that Drew Bledsoe saw him.
You got to love Ernie's MPZ's call, though, but it is preseason. You can see this again. It's a problem of throwing the ball too far and too high and too strong. And this is one of the things that Terry Glenn does so well. He gets great separation from Smith right here. He's running as fast as he can. But again, too much arm by Drew Bledsoe. But these are things that they have to work out. It's nothing that can't be fixed. It's something that can go right back to practice and get all straightened out between the two of them.
You just hate to miss a guy who was open for the last 35 yards of his pattern. That's frustrating.
Tom Tupa, whose first punt was 53 yards, sends this one out into
the stadium.
Into the end zone for the touchback. And that's 55 gross, but 35 net. So still no score in Mexico City with 6.5 to go in the opening period.
I know what Troy Aikman's thinking.
I better get some better protection.
I don't want to get hit anymore, guys. Come on. That's the franchise back there. You can't have him bouncing around like that.
So a lot of high price, a lot of Pro Bowls up on that front line in front of Troy Aikman.
From the 20-yard line, Aikman this time protected well and completes the pass. Caught by Ernie Mills, trying to win a starting spot. Tackled by Ted Johnson. And let's get a word from Leslie Visser. Leslie.
Well, Al, Well, Troy Aikman has a lot of fans, not only here, but all over Mexico. There is actually a Cowboys Spanish radio network, which is broadcast to 15 cities throughout Mexico, also to Spanish-speaking communities in Dallas and in Arizona and New Mexico. And the reason for this is back in the 70s, when the Cowboys won 2 Super Bowls, they became hugely popular down here. The next most popular teams down here are the Steelers and the Raiders, who also dominated in the 70s. Al?
And well back of the Cowboys, Leslie, is on first down. Tyreek Smith picks up 5. Tex Schramm actually started that in the Cowboys. Tex was the guy who came up with the phrase America's team for Dallas in the 70s, and that stuck. And as I mentioned at the top, clearly the Cowboys are Mexico's team.
Yes, they are. And it's very wise of the NFL to come down here and expose this huge population center. This is the largest metropolitan city in the world. And they love American football, so it's a nice opportunity here in the preseason to let them see it up close and personal.
Second down and 4 from the 36-yard line. No score with 5:15 remaining in the opening period. And immediately, Tyreek Smith, Ferric Collins says, welcome to the NFL.
You know, I was talking to Pete Carroll before the game, Al, and he was telling me that he's not too worried about his team because, like I was saying, they're not actually game planning for opponents right now. They're taking a look at a lot of different players in different positions. And, you know, they're not really focused on the scoreboard. What they're focused about is good execution and solid hustle from all of his players. That's one thing that Pete has always preached to his players.
That was a loss of 4. Ferric Collins, who played at Cal, tackling Tyreek Smith. They're working at Cal. It's third down and 8 out of the shotgun. Aikman sets up the screen. Tyreek Smith exhibiting some moves and takes it to the 40, and that's very close to a first down. They require a measurement.
They're spotting the ball not quite to the 40-yard line. The marker on the far side of the field appears to be right on the 40. Might be a couple inches short. There is the new slim down Nate moving across your screen.
You can do screens with a guard just like that now. You can get him out in front of people. But this is part of the offense that is a quarterback's best friend, is that you want to have screen passes, because these are the things that really help in moving the football down the field and slowing down the pass rush. Big old Nate's not big old Nate anymore, is he?
He lost 70 pounds, but he could use a little of that now here on 4th and short, Al.
4th and short, 4th and inches, and the Cowboys at least line up to go for it from the 40-yard line. And Aikman to the hard gives it to Johnston, but he doesn't pick it up.
Not even close. So a complete stuff job by the Patriots.
In short yardage and goal line defenses, defensive linemen are taught to stay underneath the pads of the offensive line. That time, the defensive line of the New England Patriots got underneath the big, strong offensive line of the Cowboys.
And New England will take over at the Cowboy 39. No score, first quarter.
Monday Night Football Online is inside the game with highlights and fantasy football on the web at abcmnf.com.
Well, not making it on 4th and inches is enough to make Hudson Houck, their offensive line coach, a little crazy. It was a very poor get-off by the Cowboy offensive line and a great job by New England.
And it gives New England the ball at the 39, and a screen set up, and it's caught by Lovett Purnell. He stays in bounds as he's tackled at the 29, very close to another first down.
The thing I like about Ernie Zampese, the way he's calling his offense right now, is that he is aggressive. He's given a chance for Drew to throw the ball, even though he's fired on 2 long balls. He's continuing to ask Drew to make the plays, and this is the type of thing that Ernie has to get to know his quarterback and how to call the plays to his strengths.
The play calling in New England is still the same. It's still the same terminology that was Pete Carroll and Larry Kennon's old offensive system, but the techniques are all different now, and the execution is all different now under Ernie. But at least they have the same terminology, Boomer. Right. That's got to be a plus.
Well, that is a plus, but Ernie is going to demand timing. He wants Drew to get the ball out as quickly as possible, something that Drew had not had to worry about in past years. You know, he sat back there and waited for a guy to come open.
They're a little shy of the first down, and we can tell you this preseason Monday night special is being brought to you by Bud Light. For the great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down, make it a Bud Light. The new Dodge, it's about change. Apple Computer, think different. and by Nike. Al Michaels with Dan Deerdorf, Boomer Esiason, and Leslie Visser in Mexico City. The Patriots against the Cowboys with no score late in the first quarter. Second down and 1. And moving up front. Flags are down. And for the moment, a temporary first down is picked up by Cedric Shaw.
Los Patriotas against the Los Vaqueros.
Vaqueros. The Chiefs were here a few years ago in Monterrey. Los Jefes, as I recall.
You recall better than I.
I'm not even going to try my Spanish, guys. I think that would be inappropriate right now.
Yes. Right now and forevermore.
Right.
Antonio Anderson with a movement up front.
Dallas defensive line came across. A good hard snap count by Drew.
Offsides. Number 93. Defense. That penalty is declined. First down.
And it was declined because they actually picked up more on the rush than they did on what would have been the penalty.
There is Jim Jeffcoat, who had a marvelous 15-year career in the National Football League. A lot of those years with the Dallas Cowboys. Has come back home to be an assistant defensive line coach for Chan Gailey, and one of the great gentlemen that's ever played this game. Arizona State, too.
You betcha. First talking before the game. First and 10 is Cedric Shaw.
How can you call that guy a gentleman? I remember him hanging around my neck a few times. He wasn't acting like a gentleman.
A few necks. You know, you talk about New England and the fact they have to establish a running game, but take a look at that in terms of the passing game. In any 5-year span, Drew Bledsoe has thrown more passes than any quarterback in the history of the National Football League over any 5-year period.
You know, if they don't find a running game, I wouldn't be surprised if this team turns into Dan Fouts and the San Diego Chargers to Air Coryell, because that's where Ernie Zampese was back then. And a lot of similarities in the personnel.
Second down and 9. That pass is incomplete. It'll be third down and 9. Chad Hennings tipped it. You know, to me, one of the more amazing things, though, about that Bledsoe statistic is that in 3 of those seasons, his coach was a man who loves to run more than anybody in the world, Bill Parcells.
But you know what that also tells you? It tells you that the coach trusts the quarterback. You know, Bill's a tough guy to play for as a quarterback, but if you're going to ask your quarterback to drop back that many times, that means you trust his decision-making. Certainly, I think that speaks volumes for the way that Drew Bledsoe has played over the years.
Nice smart play at the line of scrimmage here last time by Chad Hennings, who didn't get any penetration but was alert enough to get a hand on the ball.
Third down and 9 now as Bledsoe guns it. What an arm he has. Sean Jefferson along the sideline. It'll be first down and goal.
Both of these coaches come over here, Chan Gailey to Dallas and Ernie Zampese here, and they say, look at these quarterbacks that we have. We have to utilize their abilities. You can see, Drew, how powerful an arm he has to throw the ball all the way across the field and zip it. This thing has some steam on it. And Jefferson does a good job that time of adjusting to make the catch. There's a real battle going on at that position between Sean Jefferson and Vincent Frisbee.
First and goal. Shaw swings to the outside. Touchdown, New England. Tony Carter, the fullback, threw a nice block and is the first guy there to hug Shaw.
Very simple lead to the left-hand side. Just outstanding blocking at the point of attack. Rod Rutledge, the backup tight end, pins his guy at the line of scrimmage. And right now, New England capitalizes on Dallas's inability to convert on that 4th and inches, turning it over in their own territory. A nice, solid New England drive.
They go 39 yards after we got the ball, following the 4th and 1. Adam Vinatieri boots it through, and with a minute 25 left in the opening period, it's the Patriots on top. They lead the Cowboys 7-0. We're back in Mexico City. A little local flavor for you on this Monday night, where more than 100,000 have filled Estadio Azteca to watch their Dallas Cowboys, who are We're now trailing by a score of 7-0. Mark Gagliano to kick off. Fielded by Jimmy Oliver. And Oliver trying to win a job as a Cowboy wide receiver. And return man brings it back out to the 31-yard line with a minute 14 left in the opening period. Back in Mexico City, 3 weeks from tonight is the start of the NFL regular season, and in 2 weeks, college football. Its season premiere here on ABC as Purdue takes on the University of Southern California, and the Trojans are now coached by Paul Hackett, who left the Kansas City Chiefs. He was their offensive coordinator for the last several seasons and takes over for John Robinson at USC. Purdue and USC in 2 weeks right here on ABC. First and 10 now for the Cowboys from the 31-yard line. Aikman off the play fake. Completes the pass to Nick Su'Alua, who was Darryl Johnston's backup and in fact took over last year when Johnston got hurt for a minimal gain here.
And Su'Alua was a valuable special teams performer, a good solid blocker, and he is firmly entrenched, I think, as the backup fullback. But how great is it to see Darryl Johnston back out here on the football field and overcoming that what looked like a career-ending neck injury? It's just fabulous. But Su'Alua, he is a load.
Aikman, as you can see, over the early part of the 90s, over 63% in his completion percentage each year, then down to 56 last year. As this is Tarek Smith to the outside, up to the 39, a little shy of the first down, tackled there by Vernon Crawford.
They certainly had their tough times last year offensively. They were so used to just dominating teams with running the ball that last year it didn't happen for them. So that's why they went out and got Chan Gailey, to give Troy some more opportunities to make some more plays. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's uncanny with his accuracy. And this is something that Chan looks at and says, wow, I can't wait to get my hands on this.
And the clock ticks down. That will be the end of the first quarter with the score: the New England Patriots 7 and the Dallas Cowboys 0. And we will return with this Monday night special after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, hiring Coach Chan Gailey. Jerry now in his 10th year of ownership. One of those, can you believe how quickly time flies by situations? 3rd down and 2 as we start the second period. Troy Aikman rolling and under pressure and throws, and it is incomplete. Billy Davis, the intended receiver, up at the 40-yard line. So Dallas is forced to punt. Of course, the Dallas Cowboys, as Dan mentioned at the top of the show, a team that everybody always has in the spotlight, in the national spotlight. And we talked about the Michael Irvin, Everett MacGyver affair. We'll get into that when we come back after the Patriots get the ball, as Toby Goen will punt. And Troy Brown is back to receive for the Patriots. At the 20, with not a lot of room to roam right along the sideline, and brings it back to the 35-yard line. Pats take over there, and the tackle by Darren Hambrook. 7-0 New England. Back in Mexico, there was a much publicized incident of which I'm sure many of you are aware, involving Michael Irvin and guard Everett MacGyver at training camp in Wichita Falls on July 29th. Apparently, players were being given haircuts, and there was an altercation that developed, and the neck of MacGyver was cut by a pair of scissors, ostensibly in the hands of Michael Irvin. And you can see a little bit of the scar there on the neck of Everett MacGyver as Bledsoe throws on 1st down, and it's caught up at the 48-yard line. In any event, of course, it created a firestorm around the Cowboys in Wichita Falls. It led to a story in the Dallas Morning News on the 6th of August that said that Jerry Jones had brokered a financial settlement between Michael Irvin and Everett MacGyver regarding the dormitory scuffle in an effort to keep it quiet. And, of course, with Michael Irvin on probation from his no contest plea to a felony cocaine possession charge 2 years ago, he, of course, was in danger of going back to jail had he violated probation. So a lot of that, of course, was swirling around the Cowboys. The league has even investigated the situation, and the NFL today announced we've met with the individuals involved, reviewed the chain of events, and based on this information, the commissioner has found no basis on which to take any further action. MacGyver and Irvin both want to put it behind them, and in fact, MacGyver has come out with a public statement about the situation.
He did, Al, and I actually spoke to Everett last night, and really he wants to be known as the new right guard of the Cowboys. He doesn't want a circus revolving around the Dallas Cowboys because of an incident that happened between two teammates. And as a player, I know that these incidents take place all the time, and it's something that's unfortunate, but certainly Everett wants that to go away.
Here is Derek Cullors. There's a flag down. It was a well-executed screen, but it may be coming back because there's a marker down. And it will come back because you saw the official downfield indicate offensive holding. So there goes what would have been a 52-yard touchdown.
But really, Everett, told me that it was so unfortunate that something like this had to happen. And I've been on the Jets, I've been on the Cardinals, I've been on the Bengals, and similar situations have happened within a family. And they want to leave it that way. And Everett wants to make sure that everybody knows that that's the way he wants it to be left. He will not discuss it. And certainly all he wants to do is become a player for the Cowboys and be a good player for them.
Holding. Offense. 10-yard penalty. Second down.
He didn't announce the number, but we might be able to detect it on the replay here.
Let's take a look on the left side of our screen. Yeah, there is the hold taking place right there, and that is Ben Coates, number 87, the tight end. He's got George Teague wrapped up, and Derek Cullors was on his way. No other Cowboy was within 5 yards of him, and back it comes.
It is second down and 20 from the 38-yard line. And this is Shaw swinging to the outside. Meanwhile, the Cowboys today, as we begin to button up the Irvin situation, they have said from the standpoint of the Cowboy organization, the matter has been resolved for some time. Today's statements from MacGyver and the NFL office should provide the proper closure for everyone as far as the matter is concerned. Gailey has taken the high road. He originally referred to it as horseplay. Obviously, it was a little bit more than that, the way it turned out. But the Cowboys were particularly furious with the report in the Dallas Morning News about the alleged payoff.
I really don't blame them for being furious because it's somebody saying something that obviously is hearsay, and people really have to go and get the facts of the matter before they can actually report something like that.
What's not hearsay is that there was a fight in the locker room between Everett MacGyver and Michael Irvin. And Boomer, you're right. And let's let Tom White make the call.
Ball start. Number 78. Offense moving prior to the snap. It's a 5-yard penalty. Third down.
We have all been in locker rooms where we have seen fights. Since this game has been played, passions have spilled over and there have been fights. I've never seen anybody try to cut somebody else's throat with a pair of scissors. If that's what happened, no wonder there was a firestorm of controversy surrounding this. It is time to put it behind it, but that makes it a little bit different.
Third down and 22.
Quarterback's worst nightmare on that.
This is Cedric Shaw on a screen on third and 22 that goes nowhere, and Omar Stottmeyer, trying to win the starting job at free safety, makes this tackle.
Actually, Stottmeyer was lining up at strong safety because Darren Woodson is out of the game at this point. But third and 22, you try to find a play, Al. Do you have a play for third and 22?
Yeah, what Bledsoe did the first two times, he overthrew the two guys downfield. That's my play.
They were playing different defense this time, so you can't call those plays.
You hope the safety falls down.
Preseason, a draw's not bad.
Here's Tupa, whose first two punts were 53 and 55, and this is a beauty as Mathis backs up to the 14, brings it to the 23, and that's a 52-yard punt. So Tom Tupa tonight, 53, 55, and 52, and his Patriots lead 7-0 early in the second quarter in Mexico City. Estadio Azteca, Aztec Stadium in Mexico City. Capacity about 115,000. This stadium hosted soccer during the 1968 Olympics. It was not the main venue. There is an Olympic stadium about 7 miles away that hosted the opening and closing ceremonies, and the track and field, which of course featured the Bob Beamon 29-foot 2.5-inch long jump record that stood for a long time. This is Jason Garrett in at quarterback. His first This pass is incomplete, in and out of the hands of Stepfret Williams. So Jason Garrett out of Princeton, a guy who's been basically number 3. He was behind Aikman and Wade Wilson last year. Wilson now a backup in Oakland, and Jason moves to the number 2 spot, and Aikman is done for the night with a wrapping around his right elbow.
Oh, he might have gotten hit by a helmet there or something. I'm sure that's just precautionary, but you could see that Jason is trying to hit his receiver cutting all the way across the middle. And I'm sure that Troy would have loved to have that opportunity to throw that ball as well.
Makes it second down and 10 now from the 23-yard line. Garrett throws. Caught up at the 25 by Ernie Mills, who played several seasons with Pittsburgh, so Chan Gailey knows him well, and Ernie last year went to Carolina. And he's trying to win the starting spot opposite Irvin. He right now is in a battle with Billy Davis.
There is Flozell Adams, the Cowboys' number 2 draft choice this year out of Michigan State. He is a big man, 6'7", 335 pounds, and he looks just like a guy that if he was 5'10" would weigh 175, just perfectly proportioned. He's a guy that actually, Boomer, looks like he can actually get bigger. That's hard to believe.
3rd and 4 as Garrett from the shotgun goes deep down the sideline, and the pass was there, but Williams couldn't hold on. So Stepfret has 2 go through his hands on the 3 plays, and the Cowboys will kick.
This is a perfectly thrown ball by Jason Garrett. He does a good job of looking off the safety and throwing it down the sideline. Ooh, those are balls that you have to catch if you want to stick around.
Well, at least he didn't drop it. I'm not sure he touched it.
I don't think it is.
You have to touch it to drop it, don't you?
I would think so, but the lighting is bad. How's that? The lighting's bad down there.
I think we call that a whiff.
Well, they scored it a double and not an error. Here's going. Toby's punt, fielded by Troy Brown at the 27-yard line. Nice moves by Brown.
Look out.
Another flag at the flag, so it's an illegal block. And it looks like the Patriots will have yet a second touchdown called back on a penalty.
They're 0 for 2.
You should see the block that number 30, Tony Carter for the Patriots, just laid out. Woo! This is what special team coaches love to see.
Well, one of the blocks by the Patriots was not something the special coaches want to see.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, Tony Carter just absolutely leveled somebody. I couldn't see the number. You could see he just...
Holding. Number 25. During the return. 10-yard penalty.
Pow! Look at that.
Ooh, that is Sean Sims, the backup tight end for the Cowboys. Another look at it. Whoa, baby.
All for naught.
You can see right here, Larry Wiggum is the culprit right here as he comes down and he grabs a hold. This is something that you're not allowed to do in the NFL, but Tony Carter absolutely just lays out his man. And that's something that the special teams coaches, they'll coach off of this particular piece of film a lot of how to do it and how not to do it.
So the Patriots 2 TDs called back from the 37-yard line. The interesting thing about Wiggum is that Wiggum went to the Pro Bowl last year as the AFC's special team guy. So they've had a touchdown call back tonight because of a penalty on a Pro Bowler, Wiggum, and another Pro Bowler, Ben Coates.
Well, I don't think either one of them have to worry about losing a job. As a matter of fact, if you make the Pro Bowl on the special teams, you are a player that is admired around the league by coaches and players who vote for the Pro Bowl. So he obviously stands out and he made a bad play.
Now on second down and 5. Pass is caught as Coates had to adjust. His knee is down, but he picks up the first down, tackled by Hambrick. And let's get a word from Leslie Visser.
Well, Al, we talked about how popular football is south of the border. The crowd here went wild last year when Marco Marcos, who was born in Mexico City, returned a kick for the Broncos. He's back again this year as a wide receiver for the Cowboys. He told me he thinks he has a great shot of making the team. Chan Gailey wasn't quite so sure, but he has 50 of his family and his friends here, and he said if he doesn't make the team, Al, he's a busy guy. Next week, he's trying out for the Montreal Alouettes.
Well, he keeps moving around, and the crowd will go wild when he comes into the game, as on first down, he will show up picking up 5. I know he's optimistic, but something tells us he has very little chance to make the team because he doesn't have a reservation back to Dallas after the game.
I'd be checking the OAG for those flights to Montreal, Marco.
He's got that sweat thing going on around his neck, though. Look at that. He's got it all trimmed out. He's looking good. He's got his earring in. He is styling.
Well, Boomer, this place will go wild if he gets a chance to run back a kickoff or something like that for the Cowboys here this evening.
Chance that he'd find a spot for him.
2nd down and 5 now.
Just not Dallas.
Shaw's been the workhorse, takes it to the 44-yard line. And before the game, here was the scene when he was introduced.
Qué momento más emotivo, Pepe, la entrada de Marco con la bandera mexicana. Vamos a volver en un instante a la cancha del Estadio Azteca.
Marco Martos.
That's the way Boomer used to get introduced. Run out there with the flag from the state of Maryland, I think.
They yelled El Bumo, El Bumo.
You should have gotten the El Brumo.
Oh, okay.
Caught at the 40-yard line by Lovett Purnell. In fact, Boomer, we actually looked up your name in Spanish.
I'd be nervous right about now.
All right. We were told at the airport by somebody the other night it's bombadero, but upon further review, it's actually more like ruidoso, which means loud or noisy. Ruidoso, Esiason.
I'm sure there are a few people that would agree with you there. That's great. Thanks, Al.
Well, just, it's preseason, baby. 1st and 10 from the 40. Loud and noisy. Well, there's actually a racetrack named Ruidoso in New Mexico. So you've got some company. Bledsoe goes deep again, and this time the coverage is good.
Flag.
Well, there wasn't originally, and now they throw the flag.
You cannot make contact with your receiver if you are a defensive back.
Well, when they put that rule in?
Well, I mean, they're really going to watch it closely this year, especially on plays like this towards the sideline. Defensive backs try to get in and box out the receiver and push him to the sideline. And that's exactly what Kevin Mathis did right here.
Mathis and Glenn involved in the play.
That's a 1st down.
And they really try to call it tight during the preseason as well. It's really the officials' way of trying to work on the receivers. Well, now that, how do you call that on Mathis?
Well, you can't box out. You cannot cut the receiver off. And this is something that all NFL coaches and training camps have been alerted to this year. This is things that have been going on for years in the NFL, and now they finally change it, and I retire.
And you don't think he was making a play on the ball?
No, I don't.
A very dubious call. 1st and 10 from the 11-yard line, and that pass is caught inside the 5 as the Patriots, who lead 7-0, right now will have a 3rd down and goal.
Actually, Drew Bledsoe was trying to throw the ball to Ben Coates in the back of the end zone.
Let's take one more look at this. Terry Glenn has his hands on the back of Mathis, is pushing Mathis, but Mathis is making a play on the football, and it looked to me like Glenn was trying to keep him from intercepting it.
Now, if you remember now, back to our referees meetings a couple weeks ago, the referee said the defensive backs are not going to be allowed to do that this year, and they're going to call it they're going to be very aggressive in calling it.
2nd down and 3 now. Cross spins to the outside, turns the corner, and gets in for the touchdown. Ran around Darren Hambrick, the rookie linebacker. There is another flag, though, back at the 7-yard line.
You're going to have a holding against New England this time around the left end.
Could this be 3?
It's on
Could
the
this
way.
be 3 touchdowns called back?
Holding. Number 87.
And it's Ben Coates again.
2nd down.
Wow.
Looks like he might have gotten his hands up into the face of the defender, which is also something that they're going to call very closely.
There is the all-world tight end. Drives off the line of scrimmage and gets into the face mask of Darren Hambrick, the rookie for the Cowboys, and incredibly, this makes 3 touchdowns called back on the Patriots, and amazingly, they're leading.
7-0, 2nd down, 13 now from the 14-yard line. Good protection to Bledsoe. The pass may have been tipped. It's incomplete, intended for Glenn.
I'll tell you, it's tough sitting in the pocket and waiting and waiting and waiting. You know that sooner or later the offensive lineman cannot withstand the pressure from the defense. And that time the offensive line of New England did a good job. It kept the pocket solid for Drew, and he was holding it and holding it. And you could see he got a little bit tense at the end and threw the ball behind his intended receiver.
And you know, Boomer, it's one of the things that amazed me. Drew Bledsoe's first couple of years in the league, you would hear people question how tough he was. And yet this is a quarterback his entire career stands in the pocket and takes the shot.
He's played 70 of 71 games for the Patriots. I think that speaks a lot about that.
Cowboys blitz, 3rd and 13, going for the end zone again. Another flag. Sean Jefferson will be the beneficiary this time. The coverage by Lee Vaughn.
Now, Boomer, this is what you were talking about earlier about boxing a guy out.
Now, let me tell you a little secret about the Cowboys' defensive, the way they play defensive pass coverage. They're very physical. They have Kevin Smith, who's one of the better defensive backs in the league, that is a very physical player. He's always got his hands on the receivers. They also have Deion Sanders, who's not here tonight, who plays the same type of way, but they get away with it. These players are not going to be given.
Number 25, defense. Penalty is declined. Pass interference. Number 37, defense in the end zone. That'll be a first down on the 1-yard line. 1 and goal.
These players aren't going to be afforded the same luxury. And it's something that when you play against the Cowboys, you always alert the defense, you always alert the officials that this is how they play defense. They like to get their hands on you. They like to be physical back there, even though that was somewhat incidental.
But he's not playing the football. That was a mistake by Lee Vaughn there. He had no idea where the football was.
But it's notorious around the league that that's how the Cowboys like to play defense in the secondary.
1st and goal out of the eye from the 1-yard line. They give it to Shaw, and he gets into the end zone, and this time there are no flags.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yet.
Okay.
You know, when talking to Pete Carroll, I think this is exactly what he wanted to have happen. He wanted to have his offense create some, momentum, and really, they played very well. If it weren't for some unbelievably bad penalties, they'd be up 28-0.
Take a look at the blocking up front. A good cutoff block by Zephyrus Moss. Bruce Armstrong and the gang at the point of attack. The difference here, Pete Carroll saying he was going to play his first unit the entire first half. Chan Gailey saying his first unit was only going the first quarter. So right now you do have the New England #1 offense working against the Patriots #2 defense.
Sure do feel good, though, when you score points.
Yes, it does.
I don't care who it's against.
Vinatieri's kick is good. Shaw has scored both New England touchdowns here in Mexico City. 14-0 Patriots. A reminder that coming Tuesdays this fall on ABC, a fresh new comedy, The Hughleys, starring stand-up comic D.L. Hughley. This fall, right here on ABC. Of course, on Monday nights this fall, beginning in 3 weeks, our 29th year of Monday Night Football, and we'll see the Patriots on opening night against the Super Bowl champion Denver Broncos as Jimmy Oliver trips on the run back. Trips again, and down he goes at the 15, and there's a flag down up at the Dallas 30-yard line.
Luckily for Oliver, there's no penalty for an ugly run back. So I'm assuming this was someone else's mistake.
Tom White indicating a hold against Dallas. White, whose crew was given a tongue lashing during that commercial break by Pete Carroll, very upset about the calls against the Patriots. Jason Garrett will come in and lead the next series.
Holding. Number 58 during the return, half the distance to the goal, first down.
That is Nate Helmsley.
I think the one thing we can count on, whether it's 1998, 58, or 48, a lot of flags, especially in the kicking game in the preseason.
Oh, it's a cluster out there. You have guys running all over the place, trying to figure out who they have to block, what lane they have to cover. And I mean, it gets to be it's just a menagerie of guys everywhere and making mistakes. And certainly that's why you get a lot of penalties.
An official's timeout with 5:56 to the half. 14-zip. Pass.
The Brawn.
The brains.
I was off the chart on verbal skills.
The babe.
We need to get cleaned out.
If they can just stand each other.
She looks good when she's mean.
No one else stands a chance.
Oh, I like this.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, Rob Schneider, Layla Rashawn. Knockoff. Rated R. Opens everywhere September 4th.
Back at Aztec Stadium, Estadio Azteca in Mexico City, the National Football League once again coming south of the border. Third time in 5 years here. And then in 1996, we did a Monday night game featuring the Cowboys in Monterrey. Not that far distant south of the Texas border. And they love their Cowboys. They trail by a score of 14-0, and Garrett hands the ball off to Tarek Smith. Well, we mentioned at the top, and we'll visit with Chan Gailey at halftime. It was a stunning development. You'll recall when Barry Switzer was out in Dallas, guys, they romanced Terry Donahue, the former UCLA coach. They talked a little bit to George Seifert, though that didn't go very far. And then Sherm Lewis was very much in the picture. They were all gone, and in came, out of nowhere, Chan Gailey.
And I think especially as far as Chan was concerned, out of nowhere. This took him completely by surprise. Who in their right mind could pass up this opportunity?
Well, for all those people who know the NFL and live the NFL, they know what kind of coach Chan Gailey is. I mean, he's been in the playoffs. He's been in the Super Bowl. He's a very successful offensive coordinator. But even more importantly, I think, is that he inherited a team that is full with stars. I mean, this is a second-ranked defense that they had last year. They have a tremendous quarterback. They have a great wide receiver, a tremendous running game. I mean, what coach wouldn't want it?
No, and especially you have to factor in another thing, and that's, here is a guy, he had a couple years experience, the Birmingham Fire, and, normally you come in, you have to start at ground zero. You inherit a terrible team. It's a rare opportunity.
The hard thing for him, though, is he had to inherit a defensive staff that was not of his picking.
Third down and 3 as the toss goes to Smith. Jerry Jones clearly told Gailey, and I suppose would have said to anybody who came in, that your defensive coordinator is going to be Dave Campo. And Dave, Dave, in all fairness, did a great job with the Cowboy defense last year and in years prior.
And your special teams coach is going to be Joe Avezzano. Your offensive line coach is going to be Hudson Houck. Mm-hmm. One of the great privileges of being a head coach is picking your staff. And Chan didn't get to do that, Al.
And you saw Campo in the middle. The interesting thing that Jones said, I thought, was that he wanted a head coach who would call the plays. He said, that way nobody will ever say that I'm calling the plays. Here's Garrett, and the pass is incomplete. Even though Gailey did tell us, and a flag is down, that Chan tried to hire Mike Heimerdinger, who is the wide receivers coach for the Denver Broncos, to be, at least in name, the offensive coordinator, but Mike turned the job down.
Hey, look, when you look at their offense last year, a lot of it was ranked in the upper 20s, mid-20s, and this is something that Jerry Jones felt like that he had to fix. And when you look at what the Pittsburgh Steelers had done the last couple of years under Chan Gailey, this is the perfect person to fit the bill, to fit the need that the Cowboys wanted.
Number 87 offense, half the distance, first down.
Billy Davis pushed off.
But again, he hasn't had an opportunity, to game plan against defenses, and that's what he is so adept at doing. One of the things about playing against Pittsburgh is you always knew that there was something in the game plan that was going to be unexpected. And this is certainly what will happen for the Cowboys as the year starts.
Not a lot of production by the Cowboys offense tonight, to say the least.
First and 19 after the half distance penalty, and Garrett throws. Good pass along the sideline. Jimmy Oliver did not come up with it, though, or was out of bounds, and it's incomplete.
And one of the Patriots coaches hits the deck kind of hard, not able to get out of the way of Oliver, and the defender headed toward him.
That's Ron Lynn. Ron Lynn was a defensive coordinator for the Washington Redskins, now is the defensive back coach for the New England Patriots. You can see right here.
They're supposed to know how to backpedal, Boomer.
Well, no, he's just watching how his guys are covering right here.
Now it's second and 19. Late in the first half, the Patriots on top 14-0.
This is always a fun thing for a quarterback, second and 19 on your own 10.
Showing good scrambling ability, but the secondary did its job. That's forced out of bounds by Lawyer Malloy.
That's survival ability right there. That's
that fun is enhanced a great deal when you find yourself back in the end zone running around with guys on your shoulders.
In this part of the field, the defense is going to play differently. They're going to play more aggressive. They're thinking score. And Pete Carroll, as a former defensive coordinator, will practice. His practices will go in situations, and he'll put the offense in practice at this part of the field and tell the defense, all right, turn it up and go get them, because we want you to make a touchdown.
3rd and 18 now out of the shotgun. Garrett looking downfield. They have to get it to the 29 to convert. They throw it underneath to Tyler Smith, and the 7th-round draft choice of the University of California stopped at the 16. And so Carroll's team should get the ball back in pretty good field position.
Fans always wonder, why did he throw the short pass like that? Why did he go for the whole thing? Well, in this part of the field, you want to play field position. So you're looking, you want to make a first down, but you also want to add on yards to the expected punt, basically. It's not a defeatist theory, but it's a realist theory in that, look, let's not have our punter punting out of our own end zone. And that's why the quarterbacks take the short stuff like that.
Tony going to kick. Tony Gator back to receive. It's a good kick, and it's fielded at the 35-yard line by Gator, who gets crunched up at the 40. Izell Reese makes the tackle. The punt 48 yards and the run back 5 yards. This Monday night preseason special from Mexico City is being brought to you by Nissan, who reminds you that life is a journey. Enjoy the ride. And Bud Light, for the great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down. Make it a Bud Light. In Mexico, Al Michaels with Dan Deerdorf, Boomer Esiason, and Leslie Visser, and Scott Zolak is the new quarterback for the New England Patriots out of the University of Maryland.
Hold on, boys. Here we go.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, well, he was able to hold on long enough to hand it off to Troy Brown on an end around, and you might say that the Cowboys sniffed it out. That's Mike Myers, one of their rookies, a 3rd-round pick out of Alabama, who comes crashing through.
Well, penetration just kills a play like this. It has no chance. You must have a clean line of scrimmage to try to make any deep handoff like this go. This play dead long before it started.
2 minutes remaining in the half. Well, preseason begins to wind down, and next Monday we'll go to Denver. John Elway and the Broncos against the Green Bay Packers. The two teams that faced each other in San Diego in the Super Bowl, having at it at Mile High next Monday. And that'll be our final preseason telecast, and then we'll get underway for real on Labor Day night, September 7th, Monday Night Football, as the Denver Broncos host the New England Patriots. From the 32-yard line, the handoff going to Derek Cullors on 2nd and long. We talked about Zolak being from Maryland as Dallas takes a timeout, and there they are, the 3 active quarterbacks in the NFL. Zolak playing tonight. O'Donnell
playing tonight.
That's right. Cincinnati taking on Indianapolis, and Milanovic, who we saw as a Tampa Bay Buck in Boomer's Monday night debut a couple of weeks ago in Canton, Ohio.
And a year ago there were 5. We had a pair retire, right?
Yeah, Frank Reich was my college roommate, and we both retired simultaneously. It wasn't something that we both planned, but yeah, there's only 3 left now. What can I tell you?
Any on the horizon?
No, not that I know of. Here you are, you're standing on a sideline, and Drew Bledsoe doesn't have to take this play. It's 3rd and about 16, and he's trying to tell Scott Zolak, all right, you go out and take this play. This is something where, at the end of a half, you want to be careful here, too, because you don't want to give, the other team, a turnover chance here and give them an opportunity to go in with a score at halftime, albeit maybe just a field goal. But you have to be very, careful about what you're doing here as a quarterback. Be smart. Don't force anything.
3rd down and 16 after the Dallas defensive timeout. Screen to Cullors. 37, well shy of the 1st down, and the Cowboys will get the football back.
Guys, we talked about the running of the Patriots. Derek Cullors came in at the end of last year when Curtis Martin went down and did a real fine job for the New England Patriots. And he's one of these guys in the league that doesn't really get a lot of notoriety, but he just is very dependable. Pete Carroll loves this guy. He's great on special teams. He's going to be their third down back, and is somebody that you can really count on as a player.
He only carried the ball 22 times during the regular season last year, but he had a 4.6 per carry average and a real strong work against the Miami Dolphins in a game they won during the playoffs. And yet he says, I'm always the guy that's the last one in line when they talk about who is going to be the guy to replace Martin. And he's a little frustrated by that.
He is frustrated by that, and really he has a better opportunity to replace Dave Meggett on third down, which is just as important in this league, as first and second down. So he has, he'll have a good season this year. There's no question. They'll ask a lot of him, and he'll be a leader on the special teams as well.
The guy they project to be in there next week, starting Wednesday when they go back to practice, is their number 1 draft choice, Robert Edwards, and they're hopeful that he will be the guy by opening day.
This kick is fielded by Kevin Mathis at the 15, and he gets crunched up at the 17-yard line. And it's a loose football.
Yes.
And no signal yet. Now it's Dallas football.
You're a coach, you're on the sideline, your heart actually skips a beat when you see that ball hit the ground like that.
And there's an injured Patriot, so an official's timeout here.
Looks like Zebby Lethbridge, number 38. He makes the tackle, makes the hit, and knocks the ball loose. Steve Lofton, I'm sorry, I gave you number 38 for the Dallas Cowboys. Steve Lofton, the player for the New England Patriots down there on the field.
Guys, to finish up on the New England running back situation, because going back to the foundation of this story, Curtis Martin leaves. One of the reasons he leaves is that he was a restricted free agent. They could have signed him to a deal that would have in effect paid him $4 million, but he could have taken a walk at the end of the deal. And the people around the Patriots will tell you, too, that to sign him to a long-term deal would have precluded the opportunity to sign a lot of other people they want to keep. And there is Bob Kraft. And Kraft indicating that the Patriots are intent, for instance, very soon on signing Ted Johnson, the linebacker, to a long-term contract.
Well, in this day and age of salary cap and movement and players, and you have to look long-term. You can't just think short-term. And I think right now what the Patriots saw, they saw draft picks that the Jets have given them now over the last 2 years. And they're saying, we got to think, for the next 5 years. We can't just think this year. And it's a gamble on their part, but something that I think that will work out for them in the long run.
With big talent comes a big payroll. And the Patriots have many talented football players, and it's expensive to keep those guys. And 4, maybe even 5 of them would have had to go if Curtis Martin stayed. It's that simple.
First down now. It is Tyreek Smith carrying the ball. Again, if you joined us late, Emmitt Smith suited, did not start and won't play. He has a thigh bruise. It's nothing major. And Chris Warren, who's their number 2 guy now, the leading ball carrier in the history of the Seattle Seahawks, he too with a groin strain as the pass is picked off by Ty Law, and he takes it in for a touchdown.
Incredibly, that is the 6th time this half that the Patriots have been in the Dallas end zone. 3 of them were called back by penalty. That's the 3rd one that will count.
It's a great play by Ty Law. He actually stretches and reaches and catches the ball. And really, when you throw the ball to the flat as a quarterback, you have to be very careful. You want to throw it low and away. You can see he has LaFleur, but Ty Law was sitting right out there and does a good job. He actually tried to hit Bjornsson right there. But Jason's got to know better than that. And he'll look at that film and he'll feel like, he'll be thinking about that one for the next couple days.
26-yard return, Vinatieri to tack on the extra point. And the Tom Tupa hold. And it's 21-0.
Again, you got to be very careful working the sidelines deep in your own territory, especially when you're playing against a team that likes to play zone defense, because those guys that are in the front of the zone are going to take chances, and that's exactly what Ty Law did.
Tremendous competition at the other corner for the Patriots, but not on this side. This belongs to Ty Law. He had 3 picks last year. He has developed into one of the real solid cornerbacks in the National Football League. A good support guy, good hands. He does it all, Boomer.
Well, look where he catches the ball. It's about 5 yards from the sideline, so the ball is a little bit late in coming. You can see right here that he makes a great break on the football, and this is something that the top cornerbacks in the league are able to do. Not only do they cover their players or cover their zones and stay at home, but they are able to go after the football and make something happen after they make the catch, and certainly Ty Law did that. Now, the other good thing for Jason Garrett is that he's going to get another chance here. And it's going to be another 2-minute drill, and he'll be able to vindicate himself and get something positive on the board. So he has to forget about the interception, go back out and play, and be the player that he knows that he is, and just calm down and make a play to move the team down the field. A little field position wouldn't hurt here either.
Maybe make a play to his left. I think I'd give up on Ty Law for a couple plays.
1:08 remaining in the first half. Cowboys had to use 2 of their timeouts on defense and then give up the pick as Jimmy Oliver brings that past the 20, juggles the ball, loses it, and then regains possession as he's tackled up at the 38-yard line.
I think that ball actually took 2 hops and he came right back up to Oliver.
This is exactly what you want. You want great field position. This is a way now that Jason can get back, forget about the last play, and get his team down into scoring position.
The ball's out. 1 bounce, 2 bounces right back up. A fortuitous bounce.
Just where do you take it, sir?
1:01 left in the first half as Garrett operates from the shotgun. Tarek Smith taking it up to the 45-yard line.
You can see the way Jason Garrett's walking around back there right now. He's poised. He's been around. He's been through the war, so to speak. He's thrown some interceptions before, but he does a good job that time of just dumping it off and getting a little bit more yardage.
Keep in mind, this is the shotgun formation, which is all new to the guys here for Dallas. This formation hasn't been used since Tom Landry was here.
Timeout is called by Gailey. Well, the one word that is universal is boo.
Although in Europe they whistle.
Yes, that's true. A little booing going on right now as Chan Gailey is our interviewee at halftime. We sat down with Chan yesterday here, and you'll get a chance to get to know the Cowboy coach a little bit better on our Toyota halftime report. And there'll be live entertainment on the field as well, featuring Ricky Martin, who will be performing here at halftime.
Any performing here in Mexico City requires many deep breaths before you get started. This is higher than any NFL city in the United States. Denver's the highest at 5,200 feet. We are about 73 or 7,400 feet here in Mexico City, and oxygen is tough to come by.
Pete Carroll looking at it as a prep for opening night when he has to take his team to Denver. Altitude and a hostile crowd. But they're going to be a little bit more hostile in Denver than they are tonight.
And Denver might be a little more hostile than the Cowboys are being.
Yes. Smith makes the catch. They are out of bounds at the 45. Larry Wiggum shoving them out there and short of the first down.
Of course, that's a reprise of a Monday night game we had last year where New England made the trip to Denver and was treated rather rudely. Of course, the Broncos, the world champions, looked like it that night.
And the Broncos, who are tough for anybody to beat at home, have just annihilated the Patriots in Mile High, going all the way back to the 60s. 4th down and 2 from the 46, and they'll go for it with 18 seconds left, and they convert as the catch is made by Eric Bjornsson.
There's that out pattern to Bjornsson.
That's the out pattern, but this time it was different coverage in the secondary. It was man coverage, so the guy that was covering Bjornsson was actually behind him. It was Mark Tate, number 39. And Jason read the coverage correctly, and he threw it to the right guy. The last time he threw it out there, Ty Law was sitting in the flat waiting for Bjornsson. This time he read that it was man coverage, and he went to the right guy, and Bjornsson does a good job of getting away from Tate.
This is the first time in the game the Cowboys have had the ball in New England territory. The Patriots have scored 3 touchdowns, have had 3 called back, and have dominated defensively. 21-0 New England in the waning moments of the half. Garrett has his arm hit as he throws. Stepford Williams, the intended receiver, underneath, and it's 2nd down.
I think Mike Jones might have gotten a hand on it, or Greg Spires, one of the two, came around the right tackle for the Cowboys and just flicked the arm of Garrett as he was trying to deliver it.
Boy, these fans are really angry. They saw 100,000 people booing all at once.
They want to see good things happen for their Los Vaqueros.
Got a glimpse of Buddy Geis, who is the quarterback's coach, the assistant in Dallas. Second down and 10 now from the 46.
There aren't many of those.
No. And Garrett going deep, and it's caught at the 22-yard line, and with 3 seconds left, Billy Davis is out of bounds. For the Cowboys, well, the clock has now expired, but it appeared to have stopped with 3 seconds left in the half. And Tom White is going to put the 3 seconds back on the clock.
Ooh, Davis does a great job. Beautiful footwork that time. And again, we were talking about how Ernie Mills and Billy Davis are fighting for a job. Plays like that are really going to help Billy Davis chances to be out there opening day.
41-yard field goal attempt now for Cunningham, and the crowd expressing its displeasure over the play call here. They want to see them go for it. So the whistling and booing intermingled right now as Cunningham, who led the league in field goals last year with 34.
I don't mean any disrespect, but it's hardly a savvy crowd to the nuances of American football.
Well, I will tell you this, that Jason Garrett now can leave the field feeling good about his last throw. And really what you want to do here as an offensive team is get some momentum, any points. And, you know, you go in that locker room with points on the board, you feel a lot better about what you've been trying to do the whole first half.
If I could...
New England has challenged the ruling on the field.
Okay, Here we go. Here's another little nuance tonight. As you have a situation where you have the replay rule in a modified form in effect. Now, Tom White will come over, and from the time he makes contact with the guys upstairs...
The ruling on the field was a catch at the sideline.
So that is being challenged now by Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll has a challenge. They will go over, White will go over with the officials who were involved in that particular call. They will see the replays on a monitor outside the 20-yard line and determine whether the correct call was made.
Now, our feed is being recorded up in that NFL booth on their own VCRs up there. So they're doing the feeding down to the sideline from their equipment that you see right there. We're not doing it from our television truck.
He's going to get them both down. One of them's going to be on the
left
dark
foot
green.
is in, the right foot clearly comes down and appears to just be, first of all, sensational work by Billy Davis and then by the officiating crew.
Now, I'm going to tell you, I am against the instant replay just for this reason here. It slows down the game. It stops the momentum of the game. And really, these officials do a good job. It's something that every player that has ever played this game has had to deal with the elements of playing, and the officials are a part of those elements. They see things certain ways, and that's a part of the way the game should be played.
Well, that's the downside, of course. The upside is you have the egregiously horrible call that sends the wrong team to the Super Bowl.
After reviewing the play stands as called. Complete a pass at the sideline. Timeout is charged to New England.
That timeout is charged to them because the challenge was unsuccessful.
If it would have been a successful challenge, if the officials would have ruled that he was out of bounds, that would not have cost New England a timeout.
And let's point out here, too, that this is an experiment in certain preseason games. They're just looking at this as a possibility for the future. This is not in effect in the regular season.
You know, Pete's got a big smile on his face because, you know what? I did this, and I did it on national television. This is great.
What did he have to lose?
Yeah,
and from his vantage point, why not look at it again?
And the league has actually encouraged the coaches to utilize this. They want to see how the system works. 41-yard attempt for Richie Cunningham. And a low snap, but a nice job was done by Eric Bjornsson to put it down, and the kick is good. And that will end the first half here in Mexico City. We'll talk to Chan Gailey. You'll get to meet the Cowboy coach on our Toyota halftime report. Pats lead 21-3 at the half. We'll be back after this from our ABC stations. Back in Mexico City, Al Michaels with Dan Deerdorf, Boomer Esiason, and Leslie Visser. The Patriots leading the Cowboys 21-3 at the half. Now, President Clinton will address the country the coverage will begin in about 5 minutes. ABC News will have complete coverage. We will go to that. If you want to continue to watch the game, switch over to ESPN2. We'll continue our coverage from here. And then when ABC News concludes its coverage of tonight's events, they will tell you, and you will come back with us on your local ABC affiliate for the remainder of tonight's game from Mexico City. So the crowd in a buoyant and spirited mood, despite the fact that, as we've told you time and again tonight, almost all Cowboy fans here this evening, and their vaqueros are being vanquished 21-3.
They need to climb back in the saddle again.
They do. This kick is fielded by Lethbridge at the 6-yard line, and he brings it back up to the 34. Zebby Lethbridge returning the kick.
Look at the first half, and I think that Pete Carroll, outside of the penalties, has to be very satisfied with the way his team played. And of course, Chan Gailey is probably a little bit disappointed, probably more than just a little bit disappointed about their offense, the way that they are moving the football tonight.
Cowboys begin at the 32. Jason Garrett, now the number 2 quarterback with the departure of Wade Wilson. He's guided the team since about midway through the second quarter. This is Nicky Sualua up to the 39-yard line. It's a gain of about 7. Larry Wiggum makes the stop.
See, Larry Wiggum did not want to take the fullback on straight up. He actually went down to his legs, kind of closed his eyes and made the tackle. You saw him coming around at you. Wouldn't you do that?
Yes, I would. Suaula is a real load, 5'11", 257 pounds. That's a lot of beef in a short amount of space.
Second down and 4 from the 37-yard line as Garrett completes that pass to Macy Brooks. Another guy trying to win a spot at a wide receiver position up to the 41-yard line. It'll be 3rd and 1. Garrett representing Princeton. In fact, of the 8 Ivy League schools, 7 are now represented in the National Football League.
Who's excluded?
The only odd man out would be Brown.
Really? I bet you they have a few agents out there, though.
Yes, they do. Very good.
Probably several owners.
3rd and 1 from the 41.
Multiple flags.
Brandon Mitchell, the first to move.
False start. Number 77, moving prior to the snap. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
All right, again, as all of you know, the president is going to address the country momentarily, and we are about ready to be joined by ABC News. For those of you who would like to continue to watch this game, switch over to ESPN2. We'll continue our coverage from here, and when ABC News coverage has terminated, they'll tell you to come back to Mexico City via your ABC local station. Right now to ABC News. Who played his college football at Fordham, sends one down at the 15-yard line where Tony Gator brings it up to the 25, and Gator is tackled at that spot. So the Patriots take over offensively for the first time in the second half. And Scott Zolak continues at quarterback.
You know, this is the part of the game now where we'll see a lot of the young players playing for both squads. There'll be some mistakes being made out there. And it is a little bit of a, it's confusing for a lot of these young players. First time getting a chance to play against the Cowboys on Monday night for New England. A pretty big time for them.
There were colors stopped at the line of scrimmage, and let's get an update from Leslie Visser. Leslie.
Al, during the halftime, the mood was the opposite in the two locker rooms. Pete Carroll told me he was finally excited at the first half. The Patriots had not scored a touchdown in the first half, although he was frustrated that 3 of the 6 scores were negated by penalties. On the opposite side, Chan Gailey said he was enormously disappointed in the first team's inability to sustain a drive. And Al, one note, you guys have been talking about the altitude. Richie Cunningham told me the kickers here love it. He said he thinks he'd average 60 yards a kick if he played here in Mexico. Be good for your guys' golf game.
Yes, it would, and that's why the Denver place kickers through the years have loved playing at Mile High Stadium.
Hit that old pitching wedge about 155, 160 yards up here.
Second down.
What would Tiger Woods hit a wedge up here?
Well, over the roof of Estadio Azteca, I believe.
Full start. Chan Gailey, ever the teacher. This is, Dan mentioned before, he had coached the Birmingham Fire in the World League of American Football, and 2 prior head coaching stints in college as Zolak's passes in and out of the hands of the rookie Tony Simmons from Wisconsin. Gailey was the coach at Troy State in Alabama in the 80s, and then spent 1 season at Samford, not to be confused with Stanford. That's Samford in Alabama in '93.
So when you consider that he had, 10 years experience in the National Football League, the last couple of those as a coordinator. So, just not one of those guys that you kind of see that you say it's preordained that he's head coaching material. That's why Chan Gailey really redefined being a dark horse, getting the Cowboy job.
Solak throws, and turning around late was Lovett Purnell.
Actually, I think that time Scott just threw the ball away. It was a smart thing to do. You don't want to take a sack inside your 20-yard line, especially when it's 3rd and 15 like that. It's a difficult conversion for any quarterback in this league. And Scott did the right thing, just threw it away, punt, go play defense. And the way Tupa's been punting tonight, it's not a bad idea.
Tupa's boomed 3 of more than 50 yards. This one a little shorter, fielded at the 33-yard line by Kevin Mathis. And he brings it back up to the 39-yard line.
Special teams are where a lot of the young guys are going to make these squads. Most of the starters are already set, except for a couple positions. But when you're a rookie, you're a free agent, you come into a team, you have to make the team on special teams. And they want to see hustle. They want to see guys doing what they're told to do, not getting out of their lanes, and making the plays that stick out. And that's really what head coaches, special teams coaches, and general managers are looking for.
And to carry that a step further, Boomer, it's really the last chance for the kids to catch a coach's eye, because the last couple of weeks of the preseason is predominantly devoted to the veterans. They're going to do most of the playing. This is the last of the preseason games. The youngsters are going to get more playing time than the veterans.
That's exactly right, and they will tell you that in the meetings. They will say to these guys, look, guys, this is your shot. You have to make the team on special teams. When the guys go in, they know that. They have to show themselves, and they have to show themselves on a consistent basis. It can't be one big play and then 5 mistakes.
Nicky Soalua carrying on the last play. It's 2nd down and 4. 11 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter with New England on top by 18. Soalua picks up 1, tackled there by Marty Moore.
The interesting thing, when Pete Carroll was at the New York Jets, he taught his defense to tackle the football, to go after the football. He really told his guys that he wants turnovers. And Dan, you know as well as I do that in this league, if you can cause turnovers, you have a better chance of winning. And last year, the New England defense was one of the better teams in the league regarding turnovers. They were plus 10 overall as a team, and they were 6th in the NFL with 32 turnovers caused.
Conversely, you look at Dallas that had a losing record. They were minus 6. So it's really difficult to win football games when you're playing from behind, and that's where the Cowboys, that's what they had to do a lot of times last year.
Garrett sets up the screen, caught by Suolua, tackled up at the 47-yard line.
I think the thing that everybody has to keep in mind when they watch Dallas here struggle for the third preseason game is the magnitude of what these guys are trying to accomplish in a short period of time. It's not often that an entirely new system lands on a football team like it has here in Dallas with so many veteran players. You know, it used to be like the running plays were words, now they're numbers. Cadences have changed, executions have changed. The only thing that stayed the same was that the even number plays are still to the right and the odd number plays are to the left. Other than that, everything has been eradicated.
On fourth down, Barry Cantrell, the Fordham Flash. It's a good kick. It bounced at about the 5-yard line and is down by Billy Davis at the 3.
You wouldn't think of Fordham as a football factory.
No.
A lot of Hall of Famers from Fordham.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think that would be such a launching pad to Canton.
In fact, the award that's given to the top male athlete at Fordham is the Vincent T. Lombardi Award.
Well, they're certainly their most famous. Wellington Mara, another Fordham man.
Who went into the Hall of Fame, the owner of the New York Giants.
Who's yelling? Alex Wojciechowicz?
It is. That is correct, sir. As the Pats take it at the 5-yard line. And Derek Cullors brings it up to the 9.
Now, we were talking about earlier, guys, about turnovers. And when you look at the New England Patriots offense, they had a franchise low of 22 turnovers last year and only 7 fumbles. And, you know, that goes back to the head coach and what he wants to preach. What is he talking about? And Pete Carroll is telling his players, I want you to tackle the ball on defense, and I want you to hold on to it on offense. And it sounds simple, but you have to make a point of that every practice. And that's exactly what he has done. And certainly has paid off in the long run.
Cullors on 2nd and 5 is close to the first down as he takes it up to the 15-yard line.
You know, you wonder, though, why do some teams seem to do better at that than others? Because every coach in this league talks to his players about not turning the ball over. It's not like this is some mystery of the universe, yet some teams just year in and year out just seem to do a much better job of taking care of the football.
The only thing that I can think of is when the head coach makes it a point and talks about it every day, that you as a player just get tired of hearing about it. So basically you're going to just do what he tells you to do, so you don't have to hear about it anymore. And you don't want to be the guy that makes the fumble, but you certainly want to be the guy that causes the fumble.
Zolak going deep on first down and overthrowing Tony Gator. Good coverage that time by Lee Vaughn, who was flagged earlier for a key penalty.
You notice, Al, how Boomer only equates turnovers with fumbles. I never hear the word interception. He can't hardly get that word past his lips.
Yeah. I've thrown plenty of them in my time, so I
were those turnovers?
About them. The ones that I really didn't like were the Hail Marys at the end of the half of the game that they attach to your stats.
That would kill the pass rating, wouldn't it?
Man, I hated that.
Normally, it's tough to have a lot of sympathy for a quarterback, but I agree with you there. That's bogus that gets stuck onto a quarterback's nose.
This is Cullors on first down. Zolak in his relief role thus far, 1 of 4 for 2 yards, but he has the number 2 spot cemented. In fact, the Patriots they have a great situation because you've got Bledsoe as the starter, and you've got Zolak as the number 2 guy, and there you see Jim Murphy, but the chances of him making the team are so remote because Tom Tupa, the punter, is the 3rd quarterback, and he's a guy who could do the job for you.
I was talking to Zolak before the game down on the field, and he says, I just wish I'd get some playing time, but the guy in front of me never goes down. So really the only time he's going to play is going to be in a blowout either way, or obviously if Drew gets hurt. So it's kind of tough being stuck there and being anointed the long-time backup. That's something I know that's hard for him to accept, but he's done a good job at it. He's friends with Drew, which is as important as anything. They have to have a good rapport, and they certainly do.
Well, if he wants to know how to handle it, give him Frank Reich's home number.
Are you trying to say that's just another, what?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying there's a guy. Boomer, you see, you jump to conclusions. I'm saying there is a guy that handled that role with class, and every time he ever had the chance to go in and win a big ball game, he did it. So don't you dare go pouting over in the corner. I was complimenting Frank Reich.
Okay, all right. Look at that punt.
That's,
just another Tupa special.
Little.
All the way to the 15. It's a 67-yard kick.
Wow.
You're mighty sensitive about these Maryland quarterbacks, Bob.
You know, somebody's got to be up here fighting for them. All those years that I was not here enlightening you guys on Maryland quarterbacks and how good they are.
Oh, how did we do it?
The American Bowl, that's the name of this series of games that the NFL for, I guess, about a decade now has played outside the United States and in a lot of countries in Europe, of course. England and Germany and Spain and Sweden have hosted games. Japan, part of the series as well. Mexico and Canada. In fact, there was a game on Saturday between the Seahawks and the 49ers in Vancouver as Tarek Smith gets stopped at the line of scrimmage.
Long before this American Bowl series got started, I believe I played in, if not the first, I think it was the first NFL game ever played outside the continental United States. So it was either 75 or 76 when I was with the St. Louis Cardinals. We played the San Diego Chargers in Tokyo. And that was long. I don't think anybody had left the country prior to that. And we played in Tokyo. And then in '83, before this got started with the Cardinals, we played the Vikings at Wembley Field in London, which was, again, prior to this American Bowl series.
It's another stadium that holds about 100,000 people.
Yes.
Macy Brooks makes the catch. Remember what the crowd was?
It was huge. I don't remember what it was. I know that it's a tradition, you know, in soccer where you exchange jerseys. And we were asked to leave one of our jerseys behind. And Bill Bidwell decided to leave mine behind, knowing that I was retiring and he wasn't going to need it next year. So
very good.
So I think my jersey is somewhere in the Wembley. They have a museum, which is where pretty much I belong.
It's underground. It's underground, too, I heard.
First and 10 from the 27-yard line as Smith again takes it up to the 29. In fact, Dan, one Malibu Kelly Hayes has just come up with the information that you are right, sir. It is the first game played outside of North America. There were several preseason encounters in Canada between 1950 and 1969, and then in Tokyo, St. Louis knocks off San Diego 20-10 in 1976.
It was 76. I wasn't sure if 75 or 76.
August 16th.
We won?
You guys won by 10. You're undefeated in the Far East.
You haven't seen anything till you've seen two professional football teams walking down the Ginza. You realize that you are big men at that time.
Second and 7, and that's deflected and incomplete. Deflected by Chris Sullivan.
Cowboys are hearing it again from their Mexican fans. Really, they have been unable to sustain anything. Their first down production has been almost next to nothing. And that's has to be your most productive down. Really, it sets up second and third down and gives you chances to do different things. And on first down, they have not been very good tonight.
We were looking at Marco Martos there on the Dallas sideline. This crowd, I'm sure, got a little antsy, wondering when he's going to make an appearance.
Gailey promised that he will be in at some point. I would assume either run back a kick or line up at the wide receiver as Smith takes it up to the 37. I think it would be a little more dramatic as a kick return. And that way the crowd could anticipate the ball winding up in his hands.
Well, he's got his helmet on. He hasn't made the dramatic move of putting in his mouthpiece yet. You can see it wedged in his face mask. When we see that disappear, we'll know that the rocket fuel is being loaded.
You'll also notice that the eyes will be a little bit wider. Some sweat dripping down his forehead.
He'll be ripped.
He will be ripped. He'll be ready to go.
First and 10 from the 38. And Smith stopped after a pickup of 2.
Of course, he's only had a week of practice. So you wonder if it would be inappropriate to put him in at a wide receiver position if he wasn't really ready. You don't necessarily want to expose him to injury or anyone else on the team. So you're right. I think special teams is probably the place.
Second down and 8.
It looks like he wanted to flip it back to Chase.
Yeah, that's a little errant, but Smith, well, you know, you talk about a quarterback and how unfair it is in a way to throw a Hail Mary interception. Then there's a running back, of course, who has to do all he can to take a quarterback's errant pitch and cost him a little valuable yards per carry number.
That was a little bit behind him. But I would tell you that Tarek Smith is probably a little bit winded because I don't think he expected to play as much as he has tonight. And with the altitude, I'm sure he's a little tired.
I'm not sure he was expecting both Smith and Warren to sit this one out in its entirety.
3rd down and 10. As Garrett is protected well and throws incomplete. 4th down.
Someone in the Dallas media made the suggestion that after their performance against the Raiders, it's best that this offensive team was leaving the country. I'm not sure that they're going to be allowed back to Dallas after this.
Well, the only thing I can tell you, Dan, as an offensive player, as a former offensive player and quarterback, is that, you know, you could start a game 0 for 15 and end up with 355 yards and 4 touchdowns before the 4 quarters are over with. And you have to get a chance to get a little rhythm. And in preseason, you don't have that opportunity. And I know that it's frustrating for Chan, and I know it's frustrating for Troy. The bottom line is that, you know, they're working on all their things in practice. And they're getting an opportunity to do those things on the football field, but they're not getting an opportunity to establish a rhythm.
Cantrell's punt is run back by Tony Gator to the 26-yard line.
You know, and again, you know, these teams are not game planning against one another, and fans and press and media like to write about preseason games and talk about, you know, the shortcomings of each team. And I think it's one of the things that the coaches look for. They try to find out where their weaknesses are.
Number 54, the receiving team during the kick. That'll be a 10-yard penalty, 1st down.
You have to remember that, you know, these coaches are still looking at some players that they have no idea what they're capable of. So they're experimenting as well. You know, I've been on teams that went 0-4 in preseason and made it to the playoffs, and teams that have started 5-0 and didn't even come close to making the playoffs. So preseason is a time for testing. It's not a time for, you know, becoming panicked over what is happening.
2 minutes and 47 seconds remaining now in the 3rd quarter. And New England dominant in the 1st half, and we've had no scoring here in the 2nd half thus far. Pats up on top by 18. Again, the Patriots featured in our Monday night opener as they go to Denver. Harold Shaw is the new running back. Shaw is a rookie out of Southern Mississippi and no relation to Cedric Shaw. He picks up 5 here.
I hearken back to what Boomer said early in this telecast about the New England Patriots, that if one of these running backs does not assert himself and become the go-to guy, it's going to be running back by committee, which might really lead us to maybe more balls being put in the air by Drew Bledsoe in this Patriots offense than we've seen in a while. And that would be saying something for a guy who's, you know, put it up in the air more than 600 times in a season before.
You know, and you're asking a lot of him. You know, he's capable of it. I think he's still getting better as a player. And when you ask a guy to throw that many times, not all of his decisions are going to be correct. But I will tell you this, that this guy is a big-time player. You know, the coaches love his arm. They love the fact that he is a fiery guy. He's competitive. And I think one of the things that he has got to improve on, if there's one area, is that, and I've seen this already, you know, this preseason, is his leadership. I mean, he has to take this team now on his shoulders and say, look, this is my football team. I'm going to make the plays, and the guys around me are going to make me a better player, and he has to lead by example, which I'm sure that is something that, you know, Pete Carroll has very high expectations in that area.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that'll make Drew Bledsoe a better player. That's if Terry Glenn reverts to his 90 reception form of his rookie season instead of the 27 reception form when he was hurt most of last year. What a huge plus that would be for this guy, Drew Bledsoe.
You know, and he missed 2 deep balls tonight. You know, he could be well over 200 yards in passing and probably could have a couple touchdown passes. But, you know, as a former player, you don't always want to be your sharpest in preseason. You know, you want to kind of build a little bit. And I always felt like if I got off to too good of a start in preseason, I kind of jinxed it. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but we never really put the emphasis on all the little things in preseason that you do for the regular season and regular season games.
Rod Rutledge, the intended receiver there. He's a rookie out of Alabama.
Did you really think that if you had a great preseason that changed your regular season?
Yes, I absolutely did. I always wanted to kind of build. I never wanted to throw all my touchdown passes in preseason. I didn't want to come out of preseason with like 4 touchdown passes and no interceptions. I always felt better, believe it or not, if I didn't play quite as sharp as I would have liked to, because now I was concentrating now that I have to get better as the season gets going.
See, if your lineman had that attitude, you'd be getting sacked every play in the preseason. Well, it's okay for you to feel that way, but not your lineman, huh?
Well, I'm just telling you the truth, man. This is the way it was.
It's a hold against New England.
It's a preseason, Boomer.
Boomer, are you a superstitious guy?
Pretty much.
Yeah, you'd have to be with that attitude, sure.
Holding, number 66. Half the distance, second down.
You should have played for Marv Levy. You talk about a guy who didn't give a hoot about preseason.
Right. Exactly. He was smart. And look where he got him. He got him to 4 Super Bowls. And I think a lot of the coaches that have been around the league for a long time, they know. I mean, Pete Carroll knows he's got a good football team. I think Chan Gailey knows that too. And the last thing they want to have happen is what happened to Leon Lett last week against New Orleans. They don't want a guy getting hurt out here. And they want their guys to be ready for the regular season, and that's basically where everybody makes their money anyway.
Tony Gator makes the catch, and Gator gets gang tackled up at the 18-yard line as the third quarter winds down. That is only Zolak's second completion. And the end of the third quarter has arrived.
What's up, man?
Here in Mexico City.
Daddy loves you.
No scoring
right
in the
Look at him. He got his ball.
third quarter.
Big timer.
It's 21-3 New England. The Patriots will fly home right after the game and arrive back in New England in the early hours of the morning, and then go to Washington on Saturday. Then have Philadelphia in Foxborough the following Saturday. And then we will see the Pats on opening night at Denver, and we will also see New England twice more this season, both times in Foxborough, once against the Jets and the other time against Miami. And won't that be a night to remember as Bill Parcells and Curtis Martin come back to town?
That is going to be there's some rivalry that has developed now in the last couple of years, obviously because of the things that have transpired in the offseason. But, it's great for the NFL. It's great for the Eastern Corridor. It's great for the AFC East. You have 2 powerful football teams. And, I think Bill Parcells is building a winner there. He's gotten them on the brink of the playoffs, and certainly not evident by the game that they had the other night against the Ravens, in which they lost 33-0. But it's going to be interesting.
You just don't see it often where a guy of that profile, whether it be player or coach, when they leave, rarely do they ever stay in the same division. And that's what's really unusual about Parcells, just moving to New York and staying inside that AFC East. A lot of times, hey, you're willing to let a guy go like that, but hey, go to the other conference where, maybe we'll see them once every couple of years.
Twice, and really in the way that it happened, and then on top of it, taking Curtis Martin the way they did, it just inflames everything, which really makes it great for television. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
that's good stuff right there. Just think of Al, all the lines Al could have that.
And will.
No question. 3rd and 11 as the fourth quarter begins, and Robert Green is the intended receiver, the former Chicago Bear and the much-traveled running back, trying to win a spot with the team.
Hey, when Jim Hart fell down on the ground and he got hit, did you ever go back and pick him up, or did you just run to the sideline trying to get some water?
No, we were friends. I always
went back
offered to.
Right.
Well, it depends how far back I had to go.
And business partner as well. The Patriots to punt. Tom Tupa, who's had an all-star night. Boy, you talk about a guy who loves the altitude. Another gem, fielded at the 27-yard line. And this is Mathis bringing it back out to the 39. All right, ABC News coverage of tonight's presidential address has just ended, so we will now ask you to join us for the conclusion of the game on your local ABC affiliate. And on the ABC network, we welcome you back to Mexico City. The president's address and the aftermath on ABC. in terms of an update in this one, there was no scoring in a very uneventful third quarter. And thus it's still New England 21, Dallas 3 as we have just begun the fourth quarter here in Mexico City. And the injured Patriot is the wide receiver Tony Simmons, and that's the reason for the officials' timeout as the rookie wide receiver out of the University of Wisconsin gets some attention on the field.
It's really been an excellent performance through the first three quarters of this game by New England's defense. They have been swarming. They have wonderful team speed, and they have really shown it tonight. Their pursuit, their tackling has really been good.
And when you look back at the first two preseason games, it's been the same thing.
Troy Aikman, who played the first quarter and a half, done for the night, and back will come after this from our ABC stations. Throws it over the middle, intended for his fullback, Corey Geeson.
Kenny Wolf, our producer, informing us that there is a crowd here at Estadio Azteca tonight. What, 106,424.
Surpassed only by the 112,000 that were here in '94 for the Dallas-Houston game. First time that the Cowboys came to town.
And surpassed only by the crowd every weekend in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Second down and 10. And Dwayne Chandler picks up a couple up to the 44. How does one procure a Michigan season ticket, by the way?
Talk to me after the show.
Okay.
This is the part of the game also, guys, that you get a chance to look at some late round draft picks, free agents, guys that are trying to make the squad. I mean, this is we're getting close to cut down day. There's stress, there's nervousness, sleepless nights about wondering whether or not you're going to make the football team. And we hope that your performance in a game like this and a quarter like this will give you the opportunity to make the team.
Third down and 6 from the 43-yard line. Gonzalez rifles one to his tight end. That's Eric Bjornsson into Patriot territory to the 46-yard line. Bucky Jones was one of their first-round picks. He was their second choice in that first round behind Robert Edwards, but he's hurt, played his college ball at Syracuse, but a kid who could win the starting cornerback spot.
He's not hurt badly. He's got a turf toe and probably could have played tonight. He's another one of those guys that the Patriots are hoping to have back at full speed in practice next week.
A turf toe?
Yes.
We're just going to take it easy on rookies now?
Well, that's what he says he has, and they agree with him.
I'm not saying that it doesn't hurt because I know it hurts, but come on.
First and 10. Another that was a fumble is recovered initially by Tony Hudson. They tried to wrest it from him, but the second-year guy out of Northeast Oklahoma State recovers.
Yeah, that whole deal going on at cornerback for the Patriots is kind of interesting. Chris Canty got the start tonight. It all started when they traded Jimmy Hitchcock, their starter from a year ago, and then they thought that Steve Israel, a guy that they have on the roster, was going to be the starter. Israel had knee surgery back in the spring and isn't ready to go yet, and it's really thrown the Patriots into a bit of a bind as far as what they're going to do over there at the cornerback position opposite Ty Law.
Second and 12 from the 48. An errant snap, and this time it is recovered by the Patriots. And so New England, Leonta Rhymes makes the recovery, and the Pats get it back. Well, the regular season is only 3 weeks away now, and ESPN's Sunday night coverage will begin from Kansas City on the night of Sunday, September 6th, as the Raiders take on the Kansas City Chiefs, the great AFC West rivalry. And we begin our 29th year of Monday Night Football on Labor Day night as the New England Patriots go into Denver to face the Super Bowl champion Broncos.
Don't forget, 8 o'clock Eastern, a new start time this year, an hour earlier.
And we'll also be on next week. 8 o'clock as Harold Shaw picks up 17. One more preseason encounter next week. Green Bay and Denver. Last getting together in the Super Bowl, of course, in San Diego, matching up next Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern.
And an opportunity for us to go to Mile High Stadium. You know, we can just stay there.
Well, we could. We could establish residency as well.
We could.
John Elway has a big enough house for all of us.
Let's stay there and have a Rocky Mountain High and just spend a couple weeks.
Well, if we could get on Castle Pines and Cherry Hills, not a bad idea.
We would do it. I think John can handle that for us.
First, sure, he has nothing else to do.
Not worried about anything.
1st and 10 at the 34.
Other than a left tackle.
And this is Shaw. Gets wrestled down after a gain of 1. This preseason special from Mexico City is being brought to you by Miller Lite. New label, same great taste at Miller time. Oldsmobile and your local Oldsmobile dealers. And just for men, the leader in men's hair coloring blends away gray in 5 minutes. The American Bowl is what they call it. American Bowl 98. That shot, I believe, is from a speaker overhanging the stadium, is it not? One Craig Janoff as Harold Shaw picks up 3. There is an extended speaker. There it is.
See, actually, it's a camera, Al, mounted on the speaker.
I understand. I thought for a moment it was a steady cam in a helicopter.
No, actually, it's a whole bunch of speakers. That's a whole bunch of speakers.
Just like this booth.
Right.
That's right.
Very good. Pats up on top by 18. The Cowboys, like the Patriots, fly home right after the game. Drew Bledsoe, who played most of the first half, done for the night as well. Zolak has that one fall to the turf incomplete. It'll be 3rd down. Troy Aikman tonight played the first quarter and a little beyond. You know, I was thinking about Troy in the offseason as you take a look here at the last pass.
Those are one of those throws that you just try to aim it in there. You just got to throw it and just let it go.
Zolak 2 out of 9 for 10 yards, and the Patriots will attempt a 47-yard field goal. Adam Vinatieri will try to do it through as Tom Cooper puts it down. And at a 7,300-foot altitude, it's long enough, but not accurate enough.
In the left rough.
Left rough. So the score remains the Patriots 21 and the Cowboys 3 in Mexico City.
Me encontró con mi jarana. Voy a rendir homenaje a la canción mexicana.
Boomer, can I have the next dance?
I'll slide my chair right out of the way.
I don't go that far.
I'm not going to get in the way of a good thing.
Now, this is one time where I want you to protect me,
I think
Gonzalez hitting Bobby Rodriguez for a gain of 8.
Actually, I like the way Gonzalez is standing in there and delivering the ball, even though they haven't really moved it quite effectively and consistently. He's sitting in the pocket, throwing the ball with good velocity and good accuracy.
Yeah, seeing that the last 2 plays they ran were both fumbled exchanges, I would assume that we've seen a little work over on the sideline.
Well, we've changed the center now. That looks like what happened.
Earl Scott is the new center.
I think Mike Kieselek was the gentleman who was playing center prior.
So does that mean it was the center's fault since he's not playing?
I think that would be a rush to judgment. But it is
very inappropriate.
In all situations like that, let's be serious. The lineman takes the fall for it. The quarterback stays in the game.
Well, the fact of the matter is probably Gonzalez and Kieselek haven't really been together quite that often. They find themselves in the heat of battle, and they're not basically feeling right together. You know what I'm saying?
Gonzalez hasn't been with anybody. He's a rookie.
Well, neither has Kieselek.
2nd and 7. They haven't quite bonded.
That's right. Every quarterback in their center is something special there. I don't know what it is, but there is. And it's, I'm going to tell you, you wouldn't know that, Dan, because the guy next to you had to tell you what to do.
This is so disappointing. This is so disappointing. We've got just a couple weeks before the regular season. We're going to have to really go to work. All right, who is your favorite? Dave Remington?
Oh, yeah, he was good. He was good.
3rd and 4 as Gonzalez sets up in the shotgun. The snap is a little high, but he gets the pass up, and the coverage is pretty good.
Dave Remington always wanted to be a quarterback. We used to argue all the time about who's going where, who's doing this, who's doing that. He used to have to tell him, look, I am the quarterback. I will tell you what's going on.
You're going to hurt feelings if you don't mention some of the others.
No, I love the other guys too, but Dave was my first.
Well, we certainly wouldn't want you to forget that.
You know what, Boomer? I don't want that next dance. Here's Barry Cantrell, who won the Vincent T. Lombardi Award at Fordham. A flag goes down
for the male athlete of the year.
That's correct, sir.
Kicker.
Correct, sir. Tom, what's shaking, baby?
Holding. Number 23, receiving team during the kick. 10-yard penalty. First down for New England. Timeout.
It was 4th down and 4. 8:29 left in the 4th quarter in Mexico. Pats by 18. Troy Aikman, we started to mention Troy in his offseason before, and it was an offseason to forget. Among other things, he moved into a brand new house, which had been under construction for some time. As the handoff goes to Harold Shaw and had a fire.
Several years it was under construction.
It was, and there was a fire serious enough to force Troy to move out, and it will be a few more months before he'll be able to move back in. Then he had a malignant melanoma discovered on the back of his left shoulder, but they took that out and said there is no other sign of cancer. But for Aikman, it was a rather perilous offseason in many ways, and then of course in conjunction with it was the fact that he knew that he had a new coach, and getting to know Chan Gailey and getting to know what Chan Gailey wanted to do with the Dallas offense and Troy's future.
But for Troy Aikman, that definitely fell into the positive category.
Definitely. As Levitt Purnell makes the catch, picks up the first down, and let's go to Leslie.
On Wednesday, the 7 groups interested in buying the Cleveland Browns will meet to present their formal bids to the owners. Bob Kraft, as an owner, also chairman of the finance committee, will be flying to Atlanta for that meeting. Why are the numbers of $700 million legitimate when the Vikings just sold for $300 million? Is that realistic?
Well, I think this is a unique opportunity. There are 7 great groups who will have a unique opportunity to buy probably the best franchise in the history of sports with the fans in Cleveland, a new stadium. I'm trying to get a stadium. There's a new stadium done for the next 30 years, the greatest fan base, and also you're part of the passion of the NFL. It's never happened in the history of sports, and that's why we have 7 quality groups vying and competing to get this great franchise.
Well, everyone is interested. Thanks a lot, Bob. Back to you, Al.
All right, thank you, Leslie. Bob Kraft took over a franchise that for years had not done very much and has had a very successful reign as the Pats have made the playoffs for the last 2 years. Jim Murphy is the quarterback. And never in the history of the Patriots, and this is their 39th season, have they gone into postseason play 3 years in a row. So they're attempting to do that for the first time.
Well, it would be stunning if they didn't go into postseason play this year. This is a football team that just certainly they have a few areas that they would like to strengthen, but on both sides of the football, this is a very solid football team. And speaking of solid, there's perennial Pro Bowl left tackle Bruce. Sorry, Bruce, didn't mean to scare you. You know how big guys, they frighten kind of easily.
When you look at their roster, they're a little bit Pro Bowlers all over the place. They have good, solid offensive line. Really one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. Great receiving core. On offense, they just have to find the running game and find out where it's going to come from. On defense, really, when you look at them on defense, you feel like they're pretty solid at every position except for the one cornerback spot. And everybody would love to have more depth. There's no question about that. But this is certainly a playoff team. And oddly enough, Miami Dolphins coach Jimmy Johnson says this team has the best talent in his division. So I think that's a challenge that Pete Carroll would like to make sure that Coach Johnson is right on the mark.
Jimmy also playing some minor games. Jim Murphy, the rookie out of Northeastern, who looks like he's got a pretty good arm. And the brief action he has seen. Big kid at 6'4", 230 pounds, but a guy who, as we mentioned before, has almost zero chance to make this team with Bledsoe and Zolak and Toop as the number 3 QB.
Well, Jimmy does like to put pressure on people by saying they have wonderful football teams. I remember what he said about Don Shula's last edition of the Miami Dolphins. Jimmy would wax poetic about how good a team they were. But nobody, I think, could look at the Patriots and the rest of the AFC East and think that there is a stronger group of talent anywhere in that division than what in Boston.
Exactly. They have a good, solid secondary, good linebackers, tough against the run, forcing turnovers. These are all the things that you look for in a defense. It's the same thing on the other side of the field for the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, tonight they were without Leon Lett, Deion Sanders, 2 Pro Bowl players that when the season starts, they'll be ready to go. And they open up against the Arizona Cardinals, which is a big rivalry for themselves. And really, they want to get off to a good start as well.
3rd down and 10 now. And Murphy lost it deep. Flag is thrown. Contact is made. Dietrich Jones, the
It's a second
receiver.
flag. Yeah.
And Lee Vaughn, who was involved in an earlier pass interference call, is the cover man here.
Well, we're not sure about the one up the field. Certainly, the one at the conclusion of the play was against Dallas. Right now, if you're a Cowboy fan, you can only hope that there was some type of a pushing off upfield. But this right here by Vaughn, he runs right in to Gels before he is able to square up on the ball.
Penalty is declined. Pass interference. Number 37 defense. Penalty is accepted. 1st down.
What happened on the original penalty was illegal contact. Actually had a double move by the receiver, and Vaughn bit on that first move and then does what all good cornerbacks are going to do. As soon as Gels got past him, he's going to grab him because he doesn't want to get beat deep. And that's really the last line of defense that they have.
32-yard penalty, 1st and 10 at the 25. Next to no gain for sure. The Cowboys are at St. Louis on Saturday night. Then they go to Jacksonville on the 27th, open against Arizona. We see them at the Meadowlands on the 21st of September. And, when you're around a new coach and a new situation, there's a lot of optimism, of course, in regard to Chan Gailey coming in, everybody feeling rejuvenated. But the Cowboys are going to leave here 0-3 and not looking very impressive to this point. And, of course, the one big crisis that Chan faced, and we talked about it before, he handled it very well and got extremely high marks from the team in regard to the Michael Irvin MacGyver situation. That pace is almost intercepted. Chan can just hope that, among other things, Michael Irvin just doesn't attempt to do any more imitations of Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street. Well, and keep it really very much on the straight and narrow. Of course, he could have been looking for the lead opposite maybe Angelo Lansbury.
Well, I think when you play for the Cowboys, though, Al, there's always going to be something that's surrounding you. I mean, they're the most famous of all teams in the NFL, and even in their heyday, when they were winning all the Super Bowls in the middle of the early 90s, I mean, there were still a lot of things that were circling around this team, and this is something that Chan is certainly aware of. And you're right, he did do a good job diffusing this first crisis, if you will. But again, it's because it's the Cowboys that it's so large. If it were any other team, nobody really did.
It would have been a pretty big story, but nothing like this, as Robert Greene takes it to. Well, maybe he was, I don't know, Dan, maybe he was auditioning for the Barber of Seville.
You're not going to let this go, are you?
Maybe he wanted to be Figaro, right?
Figaro. How many Pro Bowls did the Cowboys leave on the bench tonight? That's one thing you have to look in this performance of theirs tonight. Between Emmitt Smith, Chris Warren, on the defensive side of the ball with Dion, Leon Lett, whole lot of outstanding Pro Bowl football players didn't even suit up for the Dallas Cowboys tonight. Part of that is reflected in the fact they're getting beat this badly. There is butt of Alice.
Oh, wait a minute. No. Hold on a second. Shaw tackled at the 15 for a loss of 1. I was just making excuses for him in a sense.
I don't know if you're entertaining anybody else, but you're sure entertaining me.
2 minutes to go here in Mexico City. Patriots on top by 18.
settled Monday night, now at 8 Eastern.
Back in Mexico City, I'm joined by the owner of the Cowboys, Jerry Jones. Tough day for you, Jerry. Chan Gailey is your third head coach in 10 years. The other two won Super Bowls. What are your expectations for him?
Well, I think we've got an opportunity to win a Super Bowl with Chan. The question is, can we do it this year? I'm at every practice, sit in on most meetings that we have, especially the offensive meetings. Feel good about what we're doing. Tonight looked a little ragged for us, and we'd like to have moved with our first unit better early, but feel pretty good about things.
As you heard and as you know, Boomer Esiason spoke with Everett McIver. He said he'd like to put the incident behind him. Can you say in what way the Cowboys are now addressing their problems off the field, and are you satisfied?
Well, our organization has had this incident and accident behind us for quite some time. And I think with McIver's statement today, with the Commissioner of the National Football League statement, this puts closure to it.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Back to you, Al.
All right, thank you, Leslie. As the clock winds down here, 3rd down and 10 at the 14-yard line. And still no Marco Martos, the Mexican-born wideout who Chan Gailey promised to get in the game, but it's going to be a little difficult right now.
They're going to call timeout now, make New England kick a field goal, and then they'll give them a chance to return a kick.
Exactly. By the way, we want to note the passing today of Jim Murray, the columnist for the Los Angeles Times. I mean, when you talk about guys who could write, you start with Jim Murray, who died last night in Los Angeles. He was unbelievable. Winding down in Mexico City, next Monday night we'll be in Denver for Green Bay against the Broncos, our final preseason game. So join us at 8 Eastern and 5 o'clock Pacific next Monday night. 4th down and 5 for New England at the 9-yard line. They go for it. Cowboys blitz. Murphy under pressure. He gets sacked at the 17-yard line by Darren Hambrick, a rookie from South Carolina, and Marco Martos is going to come into the game. They'd hoped to bring him in perhaps to run back a kick, but now they're forced to get him into the game. He'll come in as a wide receiver, and I would imagine they'll throw him the football when we come back. For a full recap of this weekend's preseason action and a preview of the coming season, log on to NFL.com. And you can read all about what happened over the weekend, including another obviously pretty impressive performance by Ryan Leaf for the San Diego Chargers. And Marco Martos is in the game. That's he at the bottom of your screen, the wide receiver out of the shotgun. And it's Gonzalez going over the middle, or Gonzalez attempting to go to a Bjornsson. The crowd, of course, is booing because there's only one guy they want to see with the ball, that man.
And, of course, a chance for Gonzalez to Martos. Really big news down here.
Sure. 10 players born in Mexico have played during the regular season, 9 of them kickers, including the great Zendejas family, and one other. So Marcos, of course, Martos does not fit into that category since this is only a preseason game. Makes the catch. Well, breaks a couple of tackles, and the crowd gets what they came to see.
Hey, good for him. Maybe he should have played the whole night. A nice little catch there.
A real nice catch. In traffic.
It's a little slant pattern down and in.
And out of the shotgun with no timeout having been called, the flag goes down.
I think Dallas false started. They looked like they were a little early. Marco looks like he's limping. He might have wounded himself there in that. He sure did. He's going back to the huddle, and he's running a little gingerly.
Monday Night Football from Mexico, as the illegal procedure call is made, is being brought to you by
That's a 5-yard penalty.
Ford F-Series. The best-selling trucks are built Ford tough. The Home Depot, America's home improvement coach. Prudential, bringing strength and stability to America's families through insurance, healthcare, real estate, and financial services. And by Claritin. Marco Martos played with the Barcelona Dragons in the Europe League. And
As mentioned before, he might be seeking employment in the Canadian Football League this year.
By the way, if you're worried about Gonzalez, the quarterback, he's from New Jersey.
Some of the big boys, including Emmitt Smith with the windbreaker on, Moose Johnston and Michael Irvin and David LaFleur. If you joined us late, Emmitt suited but didn't play. We saw a lot of action in the scrimmage in Shreveport on Tuesday. There's Troy Aikman, who did play through the first quarter and about a third of the way in the second quarter. But Emmitt is fine, just a thigh bruise, and he'll be back in action next weekend. Pass is incomplete with 14 seconds remaining. And again, the crowd booing because they want to see Gonzalez go to their man, Martos.
Can't go to your man when you're on your back.
Oh, Marco ran about a 50-yard pattern that time. Quite a decoy. Danny Gonzalez actually is from Neptune, New Jersey.
At the school at East Carolina.
What other quarterback in the NFL went to East Carolina, guys? Do you know?
Blake.
Very good.
Jeff Blake. What do you think we do up here all year?
I don't know.
Neither do we. Intended for Martos, but the Pats sort of figured it's going his way. Talk about a guy who's going to draw double coverage in this particular circumstance.
There they are, the two guys waiting for Marco.
When they're not even in the picture until he's already 25 yards downfield.
Exactly.
Slim chance of Marco getting past the Patriots secondary.
You have holding on the Cowboys as well on that play. So,
all right, Boomer, here's tonight's quiz for you.
Okay.
What state is East Carolina in?
North Carolina.
Well, you had a 50-50 chance.
I got it right, didn't I?
Okay, I'm very proud of you.
Okay. I know my geography.
Attaboy.
I thought it was in East Carolina.
Well, barring a penalty, this might be this should be the final play of the game. And Gonzalez will send Martos off to the right.
It's good that it's the last part of the game too. You wouldn't have it announced after this.
Well, that is in and out of the hands of our man.
Really good chance for one more play.
I think Pete Carroll's a little bit happier now than he was when we first talked to him last night. Would have been a nice catch, but you got to make those catches.
It was on his hands.
This is an extremely, we've been down here 3 times now, well-behaved crowd, and they really love American football. The crowd tonight, 106,000, and I'll bet you there are still 65,000 to 70,000 people in the stands as a one-sided game comes to a conclusion. So they came early, they stayed late, and enjoyed every moment of it.
And Marco closed the show.
Exactly. Appropriately. So the Patriots off to an 0-2 preseason start will fly home with a victory. The Cowboys are now 0-3 in the pre, as New England wins it 21-3. Back in a minute.